The scene opens in the sun-drenched Woldsbury Forest, an in-game location. Haha, a bruised warrior with a top-knot gasps for breath, clearly exhausted. A group of knights surrounds a woman on a throne, their leader cursing in frustration. The knights watch from the trees as a single, shirtless man with an axe stands over a pile of defeated soldiers. Her subordinate notes their target hasn't appeared despite their efforts, leaving the woman on the throne to ponder their next move. With glowing eyes and a cold expression, the woman on the throne gives a simple, chilling order: kill him. The shirtless man leaps into action, swinging a massive stone hammer with terrifying force. The bruised warrior grits his teeth, bracing for the hammer's crushing blow. Suddenly, a white-haired man in a black coat appears in a flash of movement. He intercepts the massive hammer, effortlessly blocking it with a brilliant flash of blue energy. The rescued men cry out in relief, shouting the name of their savior, Jaehyun. The opposing knights identify him as Jaehyun and decide to swarm him, but his glowing eyes radiate overwhelming power. With a single fluid motion, Jaehyun cuts down the first knight who charges him. He moves like a whirlwind, his blade a blur of lethal blue energy. In a flash, he moves on, leaving a trail of defeated knights behind him. Blood-splattered and smirking, he is revealed to be Jaehyun, the hero slayer, whose real name is Jaehyun. The bruised warrior and his friends apologize to Jaehyun, blaming themselves for leading him into the ambush. Shaking his head, Jaehyun questions why they are apologizing to him. He offers a hand to the bruised warrior, reassuring him and telling him to get up. As his friends look on gratefully, Jaehyun absolves them of blame, saying it wasn't their fault. He directs his attention to the woman on the throne, declaring the fault lies with her because she lacks skills. With a sharp grin, he taunts her directly, while she meets his gaze with a cold, silent smile. The woman on the throne rises, mockingly commenting on their touching friendship and sentimental display. She and her two lieutenants step forward, closing the distance for a confrontation. As she advances, she confidently declares that their efforts will amount to nothing. A profile reveals the woman's identity: Sure, the Queen of Thunder, real name Jaehyun. Jaehyun continues his taunts, reminding Sure of how she always loses to trash like him. Annoyed, Sure warns him to watch his mouth, telling him he'll regret it later. Jaehyun mockingly questions the idea of regret as he taps a device on his wrist. His appearance suddenly transforms, equipping him in ornate black and gold armor with a new mask. He smirks, declaring that regret is a feeling reserved for weaklings like her. Enraged by his arrogance, she calls him a bastard and screams for her forces to kill him. Jaehyun laughs, mocking her repeated command and boasting that she'll never be able to kill him. But as he boasts, his friends gather behind him, their expressions now dark and menacing. Cough. Jaehyun suddenly coughs up blood, shocked by an attack from behind. Ding, ding! System alerts flood his vision, warning that his HP is rapidly decreasing and his movement is restricted. Wounded and immobilized, Jaehyun questions the unbelievable turn of events. The bruised warrior stands over him, justifying the betrayal by saying they all need to make a living. Jaehyun's shock gives way to a bitter chuckle of disbelief. PFFT. Huh. Seeing him betrayed, Sure breaks into triumphant, roaring laughter. Wiping away a tear of laughter, she mocks Jaehyun for being so stupid. She scoffs at his belief in friendship, declaring it meaningless in the face of money. Leaning down close to the fallen Jaehyun, she whispers his name. She declares her intention to remove him from the game completely. She cruelly details her plan to hunt and kill him every time he logs in, ensuring he can never progress. With a look of pure malice, she tells him he's now back to being trash again. His hand claws at the dirt, a final spark of defiance burning within him. With a final desperate surge of fury, he lunges towards her. Sure reacts with a flash of surprise at his defiant, final lunge. The bruised warrior drives his sword through Jaehyun's back, delivering the final treacherous blow. A memory flashes of a dying black-haired woman thanking everyone before fading away. Gasping on the ground, Jaehyun confronts his betrayers, asking why they did this after all he sacrificed for their guild. The bruised warrior coldly justifies the betrayal, shouting that they were offered millions to kill him. Jaehyun stares in disbelief, questioning if their loyalty was so easily bought and forgotten. In his last moments, he desperately reminds them that they were supposed to be family. His world fades to a blurry sky as he whispers a final, bitter curse. With Sure smirking behind him, The bruised warrior flashes a demented grin over his fallen friend. A system alert confirms his fate. You have died, with a 48-hour login penalty. Jaehyun's eyes fly open in the real world, jolted from the game. Huff huff, he pants heavily, ripping off his VR headset in his cluttered room. In the darkness, he faces the crushing realization. He has lost everything. A title screen for the game Warlord appears, marking the center of his world. Warlord, a global hit, is shown with a massively popular live-streamed dragon raid. Narration explains it's a VR game where unimaginable fortunes are made, and it was the only thing Jaehyun was ever good at. He recalls how he was always called trash in real life, a stark contrast to his power in-game. A flashback shows the day he met the man who would betray him, impressing him by slaying a monster. The man, his future betrayer, had offered a hand and a guild, giving Jaehyun the only place he ever felt he belonged. Back in the present, Jaehyun clenches his shirt, his body trembling with rage and despair. He stumbles out into the night, wandering aimlessly through the city streets. As his betrayer Dongsu calls his phone, he questions if all his suffering was just for their benefit. Lost in thought, he steps into the road against the signal as a truck speeds toward him. Memory of a past life's regret surfaces, cursing his foolishness for trusting others. The memory continues with his past self wishing he had never cared about anyone. Kia. Screams erupt as Jaehyun lies bleeding on the crosswalk, hit by the truck. Dying, he curses his luck at being hit by a garbage truck, his last call failing. His mind flashes back to the bruised warrior, the bastard who ruined his life. He remembers Sura's triumphant, wicked smile. With his last breath, he vows to take revenge on all of them. He opens his eyes to a system window. Welcome, username. Hearken. Ding! A tutorial quest appears. Survive against the Labyrinth's master Minotaur. Stunned, he finds himself back in Warlord, facing a giant Minotaur surrounded by fallen players. He questions the tutorial quest, while a fellow player calls him a newbie. Two other players urge him to get it together so they can take down the monster. Gra, the Minotaur, lets out a ferocious, earth-shaking roar. Sizing up the situation, Hearken realizes the monster is designed for a 3-person party. He recognizes the boss as one removed 5 years ago, prompting a nearby player to question his timeline. The other player corrects him, stating the game was only released 10 months ago, leaving Hearken utterly bewildered. Mumbling to himself about the date, he confuses his new party members, who think he's strange. As the others plan their attack, Hearken ignores them and prepares to move. He steps forward, walking calmly towards the monstrous boss. His teammates scream at him, thinking he's insane as he breaks formation and charges. The Minotaur bellows, warning the foolish human that he's going to die. Gray. The beast swings its mighty arm down to crush him. With a confident smirk and glowing blue eyes, Hearken prepares to strike. He unleashes a blinding flurry of blue slashes, slicing the Minotaur apart in an instant. He lands gracefully on the beast's crumbling remains, the battle already over. His stunned teammates can only stare, wondering if he really just one-shotted the monster. The two players exchange a look of impressed disbelief. Hearken turns back to them with a cold, blood-splattered face and calls out. He coldly asks his stunned teammates if they want to join his guild. A painful, blacked-out memory flashes of his betrayer offering a hand in the past. His glowing blue eye fills with cold, blood-splattered resolve. He announces to his confused teammates that he has just made a decision. In a flash of blue light, the two teammates react with shock. He moves in a blur of motion, cutting them both down without hesitation. Bloodied and smiling grimly, he makes a solemn vow to himself. He swears that if he ever trusts another person in this life, he'll be a dog. A title card announces, the hero slaughterer, Hearken, has regressed. Jaehyun sits up in a futuristic pod, touching his helmet in the real world. His eyes widen in shock as he wonders where he is. He realizes he's in a V-Gear store, surrounded by other gamers and pods. He remembers being so broke 5 years ago that he had to play on showroom devices like this one. The stunning realization hits him. Has he actually traveled back in time? Then, he yanks the V-Gear helmet from its connection port. Filled with a new sense of purpose, he sprints through the store. He realizes with a jolt that he possesses 5 years of future information and experience. As a store employee watches, he vows that he can now get his revenge. He frantically presents a bank card to the startled employee at the counter. Haha, he pants heavily, asking to buy a V-Gear as the concerned employee offers to help. With a grim smile, he begins to plan his first steps, starting with leveling up, ignoring the employee's calls. The employee hesitantly informs him that his card has insufficient funds. He stares with a blank, comical look of utter shock. He facepalms, cursing as he remembers he was broke, which is why he was gaming in a store to begin with. Panicked, he realizes he needs money now, or he'll be too late to capitalize on his knowledge. A voice in his head asks what he's waiting for as his eyes burn with determination. An ad for Warlord featuring Surrey reminds him that hesitation is a luxury he cannot afford. The ad's slogan urges him to become an overlord of war. The ad identifies the model as the #1 ranked player, Surrey, the Queen of Thunder. Standing before a massive Warlord ad, he knows he must start now. He pauses for a moment, steeling his resolve. A vision of Surrey's cruel smile taunts him, reminding him he's back to being trash. He turns, his gaze now sharp and determined. He knows that now is not the time to wait around. The scene shifts to his apartment building at sunset. A new V-Gear gaming capsule now sits in his home. A technician confirms the installation is complete and leaves, while Jaehyun acknowledges him quietly. He considers his options, knowing he needs money fast. He remembers the solution, a business card for a shady same-day loan service for gamers. In a flashback, he asks a loan shark for 10 million won, who casually agrees. The man adds a condition with a sly smile. He slams the contract down on the table. With a menacing grin, he warns Jaehyun about the consequences of not paying him back. He promises to make Jaehyun's life a living hell. Back in the present, Jaehyun gulps, remembering the dire warning. Crushing the card in his fist, he accepts the risk, thinking, whatever. He puts on his helmet, willing to fall into hellfire to get his revenge. As he connects, he reaffirms his vow to get those bastards good. The mocking faces of Surrey and his betrayer flash through his mind. He screams internally for the game to connect, his rage palpable. His eyes glowing with fury, Jaehyun dives back into the game. The system begins to identify the user logging in. His identity is confirmed, Jaehyun. Jaehyun materializes in the starting area of Warlord, hands on his hips. His digital form fully solidifies in a flash of blue light. He looks around the familiar starting point, thinking it's been a while. Having cleared the tutorial, he tries to recall the name of the guide, Ari. Just then, the elegant guide Ari appears before him. She extends a glowing hand, ready to guide the new adventurer. Ari informs Jaehyun that it is now time for him to choose a basic class. She explains that there are 3 basic classes available. The skills he levels up from here will determine his specific future class. The first option presented is the Warrior. Ari describes the Warrior as a frontline class recommended for those seeking exciting action. Jaehyun considers the Warrior class but immediately passes, knowing it's too hard to play solo later. He also instantly dismisses the Cleric, a class focused on healing and buffs. With only one option left, he already knows what his choice will be. Ari offers a final blessing, wishing him an entertaining adventure. Golden energy envelops Jaehyun as the system prepares to transport him. A system notification announces he is traveling to the corresponding class tower. He arrives in a vast library, where an old man on a floating book welcomes the knowledge seeker. His body fully materializes within the Grand Tower of Mages. The guide introduces himself as Golko, the mage class NPC. When Golko asks what magic he wishes to learn, Jaehyun bluntly replies, dark magic. Both the player and NPC stand in a moment of stunned silence. Aha. Mishearing him, Golko cheerfully assumes he meant to learn earth magic. Jaehyun smirks, correcting the old man's hearing and firmly restating his desire for dark magic. Shocked, Golko demands to know where he learned of such a thing, warning that it brings ruin to the soul, but Jaehyun is already aware. He insists on learning the forbidden art, his gaze sharp with determination. Golko trembles, muttering in disbelief at Jaehyun's unyielding resolve. A dark, skeletal presence emerges from Golko, pleased that its plan will proceed smoothly. KK. The skeletal entity cackles, remarking how long it's been since a brat chose this path. The entity presents Jaehyun with a dark skill book, asking if he is truly ready. It instructs him to place his hand upon the book to seal his choice. As Jaehyun's hand touches the book, the entity warns, that this path is not for any mere punk. With a confident smirk and glowing eyes, Hirkin embraces the swirling dark power. He coolly replies that he is not one of those punks. Kek muahahaha, the skeletal being roars with delighted laughter. Hirkin stands firm as the dark purple energy continues to pour into him. Impressed, the entity notes what an interesting person he is. It recalls Hirkin's feat of taking down the tutorial boss entirely on his own. Its purpose served. The dark guide floats away. A vision of his future power appears, an army of undead with glowing purple eyes. Hirkin clenches his fist, feeling the raw necromantic power coursing through him. System alerts confirm his new class, Necromancer, and his first skill, Skeleton Fragment. With a sinister smile, he holds a glowing skull fragment, ready to test his new ability. He throws the fragment forward, casting his first spell. The magical fragment hurtles through the air, crackling with dark energy. The fragment shatters, and a system message explains it consumes mana to form a skeleton warrior. As his first skeleton warrior rises at his side, Hirkin smirks, thinking, in this life. Hirkin's first skeleton warrior rises, wreathed in menacing blue flames and ready for battle. With a confident smirk, Hirkin decides it's time to level up and seeks out the training dungeon. But his newly summoned skeleton suddenly collapses, its head comically rolling onto the floor. Stunned into silence, Hirkin stares at the pile of bones, completely bewildered. A surge of blue energy marks his sudden teleportation. He arrives in a dark cavern as a system window confirms he has entered the beginner training dungeon. He realizes this new skeleton seems different from the ones he remembers, questioning what's going on before pulling up his skill window. He examines the skeleton fragment skill description, which outlines its basic summoning function. Putting his confusion aside, he clenches his fist with renewed focus, determined to level up quickly. Grr. A pack of 3 menacing coal wolves appears, identified as training monsters. With a wicked grin, Hirkin prepares to cast his skeleton fragment spell once more. Go forth, he commands, launching the magical skull towards the approaching wolves. The fragment detonates in a powerful blast of blue magical energy. His skeleton warrior materializes from the explosion, ready for combat. Ding A system alert announces that the skeleton has detected an enemy and entered a combat stance. Grah! The skeleton lets out a surprisingly ferocious roar. Rough. The intimidating roar causes the fearsome coal wolves to recoil in momentary fear. Hirkin watches with a satisfied, almost arrogant smirk. He gives his minion a simple, cold command, kill them. The skeleton warrior charges forward to engage the pack of wolves. Impressed by its performance, Hirkin confidently believes he'll reach max level in no time. His skeleton tears through the wolves, confirming his belief that this will be quick. But as the battle ends, Hirkin stands alone amidst the crumbling remains of his own warrior. He stares with a blank, dumbfounded expression, completely shocked by the outcome. Thud! His foot lands on the shattered skull of his fallen minion. In a moment of pure comedy, the skull cries a single sad tear. Hirkin's face contorts in comical rage, utterly baffled by what just happened. Something's off here, he yells in a panic, frantically calling for his skill window again. The expanded skill description reveals a key detail. His summon has a deep learning system and various combat modes. Breathing a sigh of relief, he realizes he simply forgot to set a mode, and quickly yells for defense mode. The skeleton's eye glows, acknowledging the new command. In defense mode, the skeleton just stands there and lets the wolves chew on it, much to Hirkin's horror. In disbelief, he wonders if the mysterious special action mode could possibly be the answer. The special mode proves even worse, as the skeleton flails uselessly, accomplishing nothing. Crying, Hirkin realizes he's screwed, as his skeleton comically chides him for not listening. He sinks to his knees in frustration, trying and failing to delete his now useless character. A system alert delivers the final blow. His character is too new to be deleted. Overwhelmed by his loan payments and inability to change class, he bleakly jokes about getting hit by a car again. He despairs, lamenting that nothing ever seems to go right for him. Ha! He screams in frustration, calling his skeleton a useless bonehead as it tries to give him a massage. He angrily questions his minion, trying to understand how the necromancers he knew in the past managed their summons. His eyes lock onto the skill description again as the critical phrase finally clicks. It learns from combat. A memory flashes of his skeleton watching him fight, and he realizes it was observing him the whole time. The full picture becomes clear. The skeleton learns by mimicking its master's actions. "Hey," he calls out, getting his minion's full attention. Bowing dramatically, he smugly tells the skeleton it's lucky to have a master like him. He prepares to teach his curious minion the single most important rule of combat. With a feral grin, Jaehyun roars out his lesson. "If you don't dodge, you're dead." Again he yells as he begins a brutal training regimen, knocking his skeleton to the ground. Again he shouts, repeatedly destroying and resummoning his minion to force it to learn. Again he yells as the skeleton raises its club, ready for another brutal lesson. Jaehyun smashes his minion apart. With a single, powerful kick, he relentlessly beats down his resummoned skeleton, forcing it to learn. He yells at his minion to stop standing there like an idiot, dodge, and look for an opening to strike back. The skeleton nods, finally seeming to understand the instructions. Poised and ready, the skeleton warrior faces its next challenge. Grr, a new pair of coal wolves lunges forward to attack. The skeleton deftly dodges the wolf's snapping jaws. Whoosh! It counters with a swift, glowing blue slash of its own. The skeleton parries the wolf's attack with its new glowing sword. Rough, rough. Now a competent fighter, the skeleton makes quick work of the remaining wolves. Jaehyun stands back and watches the successful training with pride. As the skeleton looks back for approval, Jaehyun immediately scolds it for getting distracted during battle. HMPH. Still, he begrudgingly admits its last move wasn't bad. Ding ding ding. Notifications confirm his skeleton fragment proficiency is rapidly increasing as golden light envelops him. His skeleton stands victorious amidst the defeated wolves, surrounded by a glowing aura of leveling energy. With a satisfied grin, Jaehyun receives a notification that his player level has increased. The scene shifts to the bustling town square of the beginner village, Fegus Castle. Jaehyun reflects that teaching the skeleton was worthwhile, confident he can soon solo the training dungeon while another player tries to form a raid party. He steels his resolve, knowing the real challenge starts now. Reaching level 10, he suddenly stops and calls out, "Hey!" A brutish player and his crony confront him, angrily demanding an apology for bumping shoulders. Jaehyun sighs, coldly wondering if he should just kill them all right now. Enraged by the sigh, the bully throws a punch, yelling about who sighs in the middle of a conversation. A muscular blonde man in a Hawaiian shirt suddenly appears, catching the punch. Phew! The man calmly advises against using physical violence. The bully demands to know who he is, but the man casually replies that he's not with Jaehyun. Jaehyun stares, a flicker of recognition crossing his face. He observes the man's powerful muscles and his uniquely garish fashion sense. Jaehyun realizes with a shock that this is Mathador Chev, the top-ranked warrior from his past life. He wonders what a high-level player like him is doing in a beginner's area. Teask, Chev casually tosses the bully aside. The bully warns Chev to stay out of it, claiming Jaehyun was the one who hit him first. Chev just chuckles, knowingly invoking the phrase, "an eye for an eye." A menacing red aura flares around Chev as he prepares to deliver his own justice. He grabs the bully's fist, stopping his retaliatory strike with ease. Chev explains that since the bully just hit his palm with a fist, he supposes he should do the same, his hand glowing with immense power. The bully's friend panics, warning his boss that their opponent is Mathador Chev. He adds that Chev is notorious for his love of fighting. The friend fearfully clarifies that this is Mathador the Killer Chev. Shocked, the bully stammers, wondering why someone like that would be here. Chev leans in with a terrifying smile, asking for the bully's response. The terrified bully immediately flees, screaming an apology. Chev laughs, pleased they were able to resolve it with words. He turns to Jaehyun, patting him on the shoulder and telling him not to mind such guys. Jaehyun is startled by the unexpected friendly gesture. He coldly rejects the help, stating he doesn't need it. Jaehyun walks away, leaving a surprised and confused Mathador Chev behind him. Watching him go, Mathador Chev remarks on how cold Jaehyun is. As Jaehyun walks away, he curses under his breath. He recalls the encounter, admitting he was intimidated by Chev's immense power. Clenching his fist, his resolve hardens. He vows that from this point forward, he will become a completely different person. The scene shifts to a torch illuminating a dark, rocky cavern. Sitting alone in the training dungeon, Jaehyun acknowledges the vast gap in power between himself and Chev. He remembers that his betrayer, Saray, is on a similar skill level to Chev, stealing his determination to get stronger for revenge. KRRR. A menacing image of Shev's power flashes in his mind as he grits his teeth. Gorar. Jaehyun faces off against a monstrous, red-eyed coal tiger. His skeleton warrior charges in, clashing with the tiger in a storm of blue energy. Jaehyun watches calmly as his minion overwhelms the beast, causing it to crumble. With a final powerful strike, the skeleton shatters the coal tiger. Ding! System notifications confirm the hunt was successful and the skeleton warrior has leveled up. Jaehyun notes that reaching level 10 took 3 days, longer than he'd anticipated. He notices his skeleton looks dejected and questions it with a glance. A system window joyously announces that Jaehyun has reached level 10. Further notifications confirm the training dungeon is cleared, his beginner status is removed, and rewards are being transferred. Finally, his hair now styled up, Jaehyun smiles as his reward, a watch, materializes on his wrist. The item is a war watch, which consolidates all game features like stats, quests, and the map. Smirking, Jaehyun notes it's been a while since he's felt this way, and calls for a status window. His status shows Jaehyun, level 10 Necromancer, with renewed stats, which he expected. He sees his base stats and available skill points, ready for allocation. He ponders his first stat allocation, knowing he must be wise. He considers that a typical Necromancer would focus on intelligence or mana. However, with a confident smirk, he decides to put all his points into strength. A powerful golden aura erupts around him as he confirms his choice. His total strength stat becomes 53, and he inspects his hand with a satisfied, His skeleton warrior stares in wide-eyed shock at its master's bizarre choice. Sniffle. The skeleton begins to cry, as Jaehyun asks what it's doing. He smacks his minion, explaining that he hasn't given up on being a necromancer. He's trying to teach it. He reveals his plan. By raising his own strength, he can teach his skeleton skills from when he was at his most powerful. Annoyed, he tells the skeleton to just focus on its training. After all, he confidently notes there are other ways to make up for lacking stats. The scene transitions to the bustling Raiders Association branch in Figa's castle. A player holds up a quest card, excited for a fresh quest. A crowd of low-level players push and shove, arguing over who gets to take the available quests. Jaehyun calmly walks through the chaos, observing the newbie's enthusiasm for quests he knows are subpar. He approaches the scarred, white-bearded guild employee and asks to see the quest list. Surprising the man, the employee cautiously agrees to let him look. He warns Jaehyun that the remaining quests are difficult ones nobody wants, questioning if he's truly confident. Jaehyun scans the board, thinking to himself that the man is right. The quests are indeed crappy. With a sly grin, he spots the one he was looking for, his hidden card. Found it. The quest card depicts wolves howling in a cave on Bima Mountain. He selects the quest to eliminate all monsters near Bima Mountain for a mere 10 gold reward. The employee questions his choice of such a low-level quest, but Jaehyun confirms it, receiving the new quest. He thinks to himself that if he can clear this boring quest before hitting level 15, he can obtain a super rare title called Prospect. He recalls that titles raise stats, looking at the minor ones he's already earned, and this Prospect title, he remembers, offers a particularly powerful stat boost. He knows that unlike flat stat boosts, titles that raise stats by percentage are incredibly powerful. With a sinister grin, he resolves to get this title to kickstart his overpowered character build. Jaehyun decides to start his quest preparations by gearing up. His quest will take him to the jagged, imposing landscape of Bima Mountain. A sudden, intense focus sharpens his expression as he prepares for what's to come. Mortified, Jaehyun finds himself dressed in a ridiculous Jester Bunny outfit. He stands miserably in the woods, his absurd new armor drawing the attention of nearby crows. Overwhelmed by embarrassment, he clutches his head in utter dismay. He flashes back to the shop, realizing he had insufficient funds for proper armor, leaving him with this travesty. Despite his humiliation, Jaehyun hardens his resolve to speedrun the quest and get new clothes. He dashes through the forest, determined to complete his objective as fast as possible. Suddenly, a blood-soaked hand emerges from the nearby bushes. A wounded player with an afro crawls into view, weakly pleading for help. With his last bit of strength, the player continues to beg for assistance. Kiki. A group of sinister players emerges from the shadows, their cruel laughter filling the air. The scene shifts to a bright clearing, as a new player exclaims, "Finally!" A proud warrior in full plate armor named Multi declares he will begin his adventure at Bima Mountain. Already level 11, Multi gets cocky, wondering if he's destined to be a top ranker. He's startled by a crying boy who begs for help, explaining that his friend is hurt. Multi rushes over as the boy recounts being attacked by a monster they'd never seen before. His friend lies bleeding and unconscious on the ground, having barely escaped without any healing potions. "I have a few," Multi kindly offers, reaching for his items as the boy thanks him. The boy cries with gratitude, promising that they will surely repay him. As a mace swings down from behind, Multi looks up in shock as the betrayal becomes clear a moment too late. Ugh. As Multi lies dying, the crying boy coldly thanks him for the items. The injured friend stands up perfectly fine, and the two sneer about using the items they just stole. "You tricked me," Multi gasps, but the boy just mocks him for being a coward. The cruel voice calls him an idiot for falling for such an obvious trick. The gray-haired PKer smiles with pure delight at his successful deception. A system notification confirms player Multi has died as his body begins to disintegrate. As he vanishes, his valuable player's watch is dropped onto the forest floor. The PKERs laugh, gloating about how much fun it is to prey on unsuspecting newbies. A title card reveals the group as the notorious Ralph family villain PK Guild. Grr, a low growl echoes from the undergrowth as new threats appear. Hyrcan's skeleton warrior stands at the ready, poised for battle in the dark woods. Two vicious, red-eyed ancient tree wolves leap out to attack the lone skeleton. Hyrcan, unfazed by the ambush, simply orders his minion into attack mode. The skeleton warrior charges forward, a blur of blue energy against the forest floor. Whimper it lands a devastating blow, slicing cleanly through one of the wolves. Notifications confirm the skeleton warrior is rapidly gaining experience as it tears through the wolf pack. Hyrcan nods, reaffirming his decision to equip his skeleton before himself. A single tear of pride rolls down his cheek, musing that a true gamer always prioritizes utility and stats over something as trivial as appearance. The skeleton glances back at its master with pity, thinking, "Poor owner," which immediately annoys Hyrcan. "If you're done, follow me," Hyrcan commands, setting off to level up and clear the area. Suddenly, the skeleton raises its sword, blocking an unseen projectile with a flash of light. An arrow is lodged in its skull, shocking the skeleton. Hyrcan whirls around, stunned by the unexpected attack. "An arrow?" Spotting the archer, Hyrcan quickly raises a hand and apologizes for the intrusion. The gray-haired player apologizes, claiming he mistook Hyrcan for a monster from a distance. Hyrcan accepts the apology with a deadpan expression, much to the player's surprise. Internally, Hyrcan scoffs, seeing right through their transparent lie. Laughing, Hyrcan sarcastically offers to forgive them in exchange for a single mana potion. The muscular PKer claims they have no potions, and instead offers to help Hyrcan level up to restore his mana. Grr. As Hyrcan feigns agreement, the PKERs eagerly accept, insisting it's the least they can do. Hyrcan notes the timely arrival of monsters, playing along with the PKer's obvious trap. The PKERs propose a plan. They'll weaken the monsters for Hyrcan to finish off. The gray-haired player, Ralph, confirms their secret plan with his hooded companion. As the muscular man engages a beast, the hooded player secretly begins casting a buff on the monsters. The hooded player schemes to send a buffed monster at Hyrcan, planning to frame it as an accident. Roar. A supercharged wolf lunges directly toward the unsuspecting Hyrcan. Hyrcan lets out a terrified scream, seemingly caught completely off guard by the attack. The PKERs watch with smug satisfaction, but their smiles quickly fade to confused relief as the dust settles. Hyrcan stands over the defeated beast, casually chiding his skeleton for its slow reaction time, shocking the PKERs. Giving a cheerful thumbs up, Hyrcan encourages them to continue, as the PKERs stare in disbelief at his powerful summon. Realizing Hyrcan might be stronger than he looks, the PKERs decide to change their tactics. They send a whole pack of monsters at Hyrcan, hoping to overwhelm him. While Hyrcan is distracted, the muscular PKer moves in for a killing blow from behind. The muscular PKer swings his mace, confident that they will take Hyrcan down. He unleashes a powerful, sweeping attack meant to finish the fight. What? The PKer is stunned as Hyrcan effortlessly dodges the fatal blow. In a flash of blue light, Hyrcan reappears behind his attacker, ready to strike. The The other PKERs watch in horror as Jaehyun and his skeleton have already dispatched their brawny companion. Jaehyun grabs the lead PK Ralph by the collar, his patience finally at an end. The skeleton warrior's eyes flare with malevolent blue light, ready for battle. Jaehyun and his skeleton move in perfect unison, unleashing a coordinated, glowing assault. Terrified, the remaining two PKERs desperately try to beg for a truce. Their pleas are cut short as they are swiftly cut down. Jaehyun and his skeleton stand back to back, victorious over their defeated foes. Standing over the bodies, Jaehyun remarks that he knows their kind all too well. He coldly states that they're the type to backstab those who trust them for personal gain. Looking down at Ralph, Jaehyun notes that such a simple tactic might have worked on his old self. Ralph panics, offering items and begging for his life, but Jaehyun coldly apologizes. Jaehyun raises his sword, preparing to deliver the final, merciless blow. His resolve is clear, as he thinks to himself, I don't trust people anymore. With a final, glowing strike, he ends the last of the PKERs. Notifications confirm player Ralph has died, dropping 8 ownerless watches, a number that surprises even Jaehyun. Smirking at his new loot, Jaehyun decides to make good use of it, starting with a long-overdue wardrobe change. Meanwhile, the skeleton warrior makes sure the muscular PKer is truly dead by stomping on his corpse. The skeleton's eyes glow with satisfaction after its brutal finishing touch. Jaehyun rewards his minion, placing a hand on its skull as magical light envelops it. He gently pats his loyal skeleton's head, bestowing an upgrade. There we go, he says, as the skeleton stands proudly in new, sleek black gear. The skeleton blushes happily, and Jaehyun teases it for being so pleased with the new look. Now wearing a cool black hooded outfit himself, Jaehyun declares that appearance isn't what's important in a game. He poses in his stylish new gear, adding that it's what's inside that truly matters. Grinning, he tells his skeleton that the war watches they looted were a massive jackpot. A system window explains that selling a player's war watch grants a random item from their inventory. The spoils are revealed: rare pants and a sword, both providing powerful mana boosts. The spoils also included rare skill books, like the ominous Demon's Curse. Mwahaha. Jaehyun cackles with glee, celebrating the absolute jackpot of gold he just acquired. Thanks to his new riches, he proudly reveals a glowing blue item he was finally able to create. He examines his prize, a traditional Haho mask, noting he crafted it quicker than expected. He reveals his plan to start recording his gameplay, musing that creating a memorable identity is important for it. Jaehyun recalls pitching an old idea for his guild, to have everyone wear a Haho mask to go viral. Beaming with excitement, he officially decides to name his new guild Haho Mask. His expression turns serious as he admits he considered starting over with a completely new identity. However, as he holds the mask, it suddenly erupts in a torrent of magical blue flames. The mask transforms into a demonic visage as he vows to never let anyone steal from him again. Clenching his jaw, he hardens his resolve to prove that his chosen path was the right one all along. He dons the fearsome new mask, his eyes glowing red as his skeleton stands ready behind him. Together, they arrive at a glowing blue portal nestled atop a rocky mountain peak. They step through the swirling vortex, a notification confirming their entry into the Bima Mountain Cave dungeon. Now masked, he confidently enters the cave, recalling that blue werewolves should appear here. He smirks, confident that his new equipment will allow him to achieve a 10-minute speedrun. "Let's go!" he shouts, charging into the darkness with his loyal skeleton right behind him. A few hours later, the skeleton waits awkwardly amidst a field of flowers, a far cry from a 10-minute run. A frustrated Jaehyun looks around in disbelief, demanding to know why. The entire vast dungeon is completely devoid of monsters. Clutching his head, he thinks this is crazy and wonders if the game has bugged out. As he fumes, his skeleton taps his leg to get his attention, and he snaps at it, annoyed. Wait. His expression freezes as he finally realizes what his skeleton noticed. Looking down, he sees his hand hovering over a swirling patch of dark energy on the floor. This is whoosh. The energy erupts from the ground, engulfing him and his skeleton in a vortex of power. A notification reveals he's discovered an instant dungeon called The Stage, finally explaining the monster absence. A system graphic explains that instant dungeons are rare, one-time events that temporarily replace normal ones. They are far more difficult than normal dungeons, but also offer significantly better rewards. The problem is, he thinks, a bead of sweat tracing down his temple. Rationally, he should give this up, since dying means a 2-day lockout and other quests are safer. But his eyes narrow with steely resolve. A notification confirms he has accepted the challenge and entered the stage. Bathed in purple energy, he stands firm, declaring, "I just need to clear it." Gritting his teeth with anticipation, he prepares himself for whatever challenge awaits. The darkness gives way to reveal a vast, ruined coliseum, the arena for the stage. Looking around the intimidating arena, Jaehyun admits it's scary and wonders what foe he's about to face. He senses an immense presence approaching and grits his teeth. Out, huff huff, a monstrous red-eyed werewolf with a sigil on its forehead emerges from the shadows. Jaehyun and his skeleton stand their ground, preparing to face the colossal beast. Gra, the monster roars as a system window identifies it a corrupted werewolf of an unknown level. Corrupted, he wonders, shocked by its appearance, but his thought is cut short by a lightning-fast attack. The powerful blow sends him flying across the arena floor as his skeleton watches in alarm. Coo. He crashes hard into the ground, coughing up blood from the devastating impact. The skeleton warrior whips around, its glowing eyes fixed on where its master landed. Grrr. The skeleton lets out an angry growl, gripping its sword and readying itself for battle. But, from the dust, a wide, confident smirk spreads across Jaehyun's face as he prepares his sword. Pooh ha ha. He laughs maniacally, revealing he blocked the lethal blow with his new sword, which now lies shattered. HMPH, he scoffs, brushing himself off as he rises from the rubble. Hey, skeleton. With a menacing grin and glowing red eyes, he gives it the ultimate ultimatum. No dinner today. Re-energized, Jaehyun and his skeleton charge forward together, launching a unified assault against the werewolf. The skeleton warrior charges into the fray, its glowing blue eyes fixed on the beast. Its newly equipped sword gleams, ready for a powerful strike. Shrouded in purple magic, Jaehyun leaps high into the air, descending on his foe. Grah! As the werewolf roars, Jaehyun commands it to inflict a curse. He channels dark, swirling energy into the palm of his hand. With a surge of power, he imbues his blade with the purple curse. The werewolf is suddenly enveloped in the dark magic, its expression turning to confusion. Tendrils of purple energy wrap around the beast, holding it in place. Jaehyun lunges, his cursed blade slashing through the werewolf's defenses. Grah! A system window confirms the activation of Demon's Curse, weakening the monster's stats by 10%. Jaehyun notes that his new curse skill is working surprisingly well. Grrr! The werewolf growls, breaking free as a furious red aura erupts around it. Grah! The enraged beast lunges at a surprised Jaehyun. Notifications confirm the werewolf is now enraged and immune to status effects, making Jaehyun realize the true difficulty of an instant dungeon. Slot on. Jaehyun declares with a menacing grin, tapping his watch to activate a new power. Whoosh! He is instantly engulfed in a torrent of brilliant blue energy. The power coalesces into a swirling, luminous orb before him. He steels himself, declaring, "All right, let's do this." Slot on is a unique feature of the Warlord game. When a player uses Slot on via their watch, they are granted a temporary power-up. This manifests a boosted form, empowered by the world of Warlord itself. The power varies greatly, showing different possible transformations. Jaehyun emerges in sleek new armor, surrounded by an intense blue flame. Cracking his knuckles with a confident smirk, he challenges the beast, "Bring it on, Grah." The enraged werewolf charges, its massive jaws snapping wide. In his new form, Jaehyun effortlessly dodges the ferocious lunge. The werewolf furiously continues its assault, claws flashing through the air. Jaehyun and his skeleton weave through a deadly dance of slashing red claws. Crash. The werewolf slams its fist into the arena floor, shattering the stone. Jaehyun lands nimbly, just outside the radius of the devastating impact. He realizes the monster's speed and power are overwhelming, knowing even 3 hits would be fatal. The werewolf gathers its power, preparing to unleash another brutal attack. Surrounded by a blue aura, Jaehyun prepares to evade the incoming assault. He skillfully slides beneath the werewolf's arm, narrowly dodging its massive claws. Grinning at the thrill of the fight, he thinks this is what makes the game fun. His expression freezes in sudden dawning horror as he asks, right? Whoa! He leaps back just as the ground erupts from another earth-shattering blow. Sigh. He facepalms, chiding himself for completely forgetting about the monster's enraged state. He stands firm, facing down the towering, enraged werewolf. From behind, his skeleton reminds him that he might be forgetting something else too. The skeleton warrior charges in, unleashing a flurry of attacks on the beast. Skeleton, let's do the move we practiced. Jaehyun commands, and his minion nods in agreement. The werewolf roars, startled by their sudden coordinated strategy. Jaehyun and his skeleton charge the beast from opposite sides in a pincer movement. They circle the werewolf, their movements creating swirling blue streams of energy. With a final, unified strike, they slice into the beast's back, drawing blood. A notification confirms his power-up has deactivated as Jaehyun smiles, his boosted form fading away. A glowing golden reward card materializes in the air, signifying his victory. A quest card for the Cave of Bima Mountain is marked complete, rewarding him with 10 gold. Ding notifications flood in, announcing his massive haul. His skeleton skill ranked up. He earned over 20,000 gold and looted rare monster parts. With his skeleton cheering him on, Jaehyun celebrates, declaring that the instance rewards are truly juicy. He receives the Necklace of the Corrupted Tracker, a Chronicle unique item that boosts all stats by 18. Jaehyun is stunned, realizing a Chronicle unique is a tier above standard uniques, even if it's untradeable. He pauses as the item's name, Corrupted Tracker, triggers a significant realization. A system notification appears, confirming that 3 new titles have been registered to his account. The first title, Challenger of Heroes, boosts his stamina, which he figures is a reward for soloing the dungeon. He is shocked to see the second title is Corrupted Tracker. Jaehyun recognizes this as the title for the introductory chapter of the main questline, Count Corruption. This main quest is revealed to be the core storyline that forms the entire backbone of Warlord's universe. Because the rewards are so extraordinary, it is the game's flagship content that every player desperately wants a piece of. He reflects on his past life, where he barely reached the 4th chapter, and realizes his current progress is far beyond simple luck. "I've hit the jackpot," he shouts with a massive grin, immediately deciding to log out. The scene transitions to a quiet apartment building under a warm evening sky. On a breaking news broadcast, a representative for the Hydra Guild announces they are entering the final chapter of the Count Corruption scenario. The broadcast is paused just as the guild member states their goal is to clear it within 3 months. Jaehyun, now seen in the real world with black hair, stares blankly at the news on his monitor. "Jackpot! My foot!" he laments, crying pathetically while chewing on his food. He slams his head on the desk in despair, realizing he's too late to get anything from the quest now that someone else is at the end. Sigh. Defeated, he wonders if he should just give up and wait for the next chapter. Suddenly, an idea strikes him, and he sits bolt upright, seeing a new opportunity in his predicament. He realizes the entire world is focused on the Count Corruption quest, especially since it's about to be cleared for the first time. With a sly look, he wonders what would happen if a related video were to be released right now. He pictures himself becoming wildly rich and successful, a sinister, greedy smile spreading across his face. Decisively, he plans to have his recorded gameplay edited and immediately uploaded to WTube. He knows just who to contact, remembering the god of editing from his past life as he sends a message. A pink-haired woman with glasses, filmmaker Romani, receives his message while eating noodles and looks at her phone curiously. "Ha!" she scoffs, dismissing the request as a level 15 player trying to show off with a boring dungeon clear video. She abruptly stands, her expression suddenly serious. Her glasses cast a dark shadow over her face as she whispers in shock, "I found it." Her shock turns into a brilliant, eager smile, as a title card identifies her as Romani, a freelance editor nicknamed Helmuth. The scene shifts to a sprawling, glittering cityscape at night. A woman in a red robe looks out her high-rise window, calling for her executive. A man in a suit rushes in, and she informs him that a new video related to the Count Corruption has just gone up. She hands him a tablet, noting with interest that a level 15 player soloed a corrupted werewolf. The executive dismisses it as a low-level monster, but she interrupts him, saying, "I like it." With a calculating smile, she gives a simple, powerful command. "Bring that to me." A profile card identifies the woman as Jaehyun, the top-ranked business world executive and successor to the Thunder Group. Her warlord nickname is revealed to be the Queen of Thunder, Sure. Back in his room, Jaehyun stares at his phone in disbelief. He's shocked that his video, uploaded just yesterday, already has thousands of views and praise for his insane movements. Blink. He marvels that it took him months to achieve this level of fame in his previous life. He's even more surprised that the famous editor, Romani, contacted him first, breaking his usual mysterious persona. Cringing at a Red Roses for You gif from Romani, he wants to block him, wondering if the editor is an old game addict. Thump. Romani messages again, asking for the next video, and Jaehyun slumps back in his chair, admitting he has no idea. He lies back, contemplating his next move and lamenting that it's impossible to just find another rare monster to film. Deciding he must act while his video is popular, he prepares to log back into the game. With determined, glowing eyes, he initiates the connection and logs in. Elsewhere, Matador Shev watches the gameplay video, commenting on the impressive Jaehyun of Haho Mask. Shev admits Jaehyun's movements are remarkable, no matter how many times he views them. He trails off, thinking Jaehyun looks strangely familiar, just as another person's voice asks who he's talking about. A confident, red-haired woman named Yell strikes a pose in an elegant purple dress. A man in red armor speaks to Yell about the recent hot topic, Jaehyun from Haho Mask, noting that she watches him a lot despite her feigned annoyance. The man in red armor excitedly praises Jaehyun's incredibly natural movements and his next-level method of training his summon. He daydreams about fighting Jaehyun, but Yell, blushing slightly, cuts him off and tells him to stop. Yell grabs the man and pulls him away, reminding him they're going live in 5 minutes, which catches him by surprise. Winking, the man in red armor thanks Yell for her support, telling her he always appreciates her. Yell looks down, telling him to prove his appreciation by performing well on the live stream. An ecstatic crowd cheers as a chat message reveals over 200,000 people bought tickets for the live event. The man in red armor steps forward, ready to address the massive audience that came to see him. A title card identifies him as the leader of the Red Bulls Guild. The Red Bulls leader stands before his guild in a packed stadium ready to begin the event. A system notification announces a dungeon gate will spawn soon as a 5-second countdown begins. The countdown continues as the Red Bulls Guild faces the ominous, swirling purple portal. The guild leader's eyes narrow with determination, ready to give the command. With a powerful motion, he orders all members to prepare for battle. The scene shifts to the Raiders Association building in Figa's castle, where other players gather. Inside, an unmasked Jaehyun realizes with frustration that there's nothing here for him. He slams his head onto a table, exclaiming that there are no available quests. Lying defeated, he looks at the pathetic quest cards for Weed Control and Lost Dog, cursing the beginner town. His eyes narrow with fierce determination as he continues to scan the quest board. An elderly, scarred man approaches, recognizing Jaehyun as the adventurer who cleared the Bima Mountain dungeon. Startled, Jaehyun wonders if he recognizes the man from somewhere. The man introduces himself as Hotan and asks Jaehyun if he has a moment. In a private room, Hotan begins to explain, saying he heard all about Jaehyun's recent feat. He reveals that he knows Jaehyun found a mutant inside the cave of Bima Mountain. Jaehyun is confused, not remembering that quest, but confirms he saw a werewolf with strange eyes. Hotan explains there's a high chance he encountered a monster exposed to the power of the Corrupt One. A vision shows a menacing, hooded figure commanding 2 ferocious, corrupted beasts. Hotan gravely states that this power causes monsters to rampage and has claimed many victims. As Hotan explains that the Raiders Association has put a bounty on the culprit, Jaehyun grabs his arm. Jaehyun eagerly volunteers to help capture the villain, realizing he's stumbled upon a hidden quest. Though Hotan thinks it's too soon for him, Jaehyun insists he's ready and profusely thanks him for the opportunity. Hotan chuckles and agrees to give him a chance, mentioning a man named Ambry who can help. Jaehyun listens intently as Hotan directs him to Bangsu Castle, located east of their current position. Hotan offers to write a letter of recommendation that will provide Jaehyun with the teachings he needs. A quest window appears for teachings of Ambry, rewarding a skill book for finding him with Hotan's letter. Yes! Jaehyun shouts triumphantly outside the association building, clutching the precious letter. Grinning, he celebrates getting a quest to become the student of the famous NPC, Ambry. A narration reveals Ambry is one of the 7 legendary disciples of the great mage Bokon. He is a renowned NPC who provides mages with the rarest and most valuable skill books. Jaehyun gasps in shock, finally understanding the massive importance of the NPC he's about to meet. He realizes this golden opportunity is likely due to his new title and quest overlap, which will solve his video content problems. With a sly grin, he remembers there's something else he needs to take care of first. The scene shifts to a quiet, leafy forest. Jaehyun uses a skeleton fragment, throwing a glowing skull that summons a new minion with a burst of blue magic. As a basic skeleton warrior materializes, he decides it's time to check his rewards from the last battle. He pulls out the glowing werewolf skull he saved, planning to use it for an upgrade. A system window asks if he wants to use the werewolf skull to strengthen his skeleton warrior, and he agrees. The skull's energy surges into his new minion, granting it werewolf traits and a +2 toughness boost. Next, he takes out the glowing necklace of the corrupted tracker and equips it. A system notification confirms the effects of the necklace of the corrupted tracker, granting Jaehyun a boost to all stats. Great, he says, satisfied that his preparations are complete as his werewolf-esque skeleton looks on. With a confident smirk, he activates his skeleton fragment skill, summoning 2 more glowing blue skulls. He hurls the skulls into the forest, and they arc through the air past his first minion. 2 new, basic skeletons materialize from the magic, startling his original upgraded minion. Jaehyun informs the trio that they will now fight as a unit and must get along. No, his original skeleton throws a fit, clearly horrified by the prospect of having teammates. Roar! A level 25 forest bear erupts from the trees, its red eyes glowing with aggression. The monstrous bear immediately swipes at Jaehyun with immense force. Jaehyun narrowly dodges the powerful blow as it smashes into the ground. The bear rears back, preparing to unleash another brutal attack. Ah! Jaehyun exclaims, reeling from the sheer speed and power of the beast. CSK, with a cunning grin, he announces that he has successfully drawn its aggro and signals his minions. One of the new skeletons heroically leaps toward the bear, preparing a frontal assault. The skeleton's eyes widen in alarm as it realizes its attack is futile. Wham! The bear effortlessly smashes the skeleton into a pile of bones. Jaehyun facepalms, chastising the failed minion for its predictable attack and yelling at it to use the monster's blind spot. Next, he orders, sending the second new skeleton into the fray. The skeleton faithfully repeats the exact same flawed, head-on attack as its predecessor. Hey, Jaehyun screams in pure desperation as the second skeleton is about to be obliterated. He furiously asks his original skeleton why it's making the same mistake as the last one, pointing at the shattered remains on the ground. Ugh. He stomps his foot in frustration. In response, his upgraded skeleton strikes a dazzling, confident pose. Huh? Jaehyun blushes, momentarily stunned by his minion's unexpected display, thinking, that guy. The upgraded skeleton flashes a smug grin, holding its scythe at the ready. It expertly weaves around the bear, attacking from its blind spot just as commanded. Jaehyun grabs his head, his expression a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. Idiots. His frustrated roar echoes through the forest, startling a flock of birds. Ugh. The 3 reassembled skeletons stare blankly, their heads in their hands, looking completely clueless. Jaehyun stands over the defeated bear and asks his minions if they even have brains, then tells them to put their heads back on. He lectures them, explaining that monsters will always turn to face an attacker. Using a stick to draw in the dirt, he illustrates the concept of a blind spot and questions why they charge from the front. The 3 skeletons tilt their heads in confused unison, prompting Jaehyun to give up in a fit of rage. He laments that while the necklace allows him to summon 3 skeletons, the upgrade has come with a massive headache. A flashback shows him yelling at a skeleton for failing to attack the bear's blind spot. An infographic explains that although his skeletons share his teachings, they haven't learned how to coordinate as a team. He clutches his head in despair, realizing they cost triple the mana but are even less effective than before. Sighing in defeat, he decides to move on, noting he's hit level 20 but can't make fighting videos like this. Get up, he orders his minions, declaring that they will train non-stop on the way to Bangsu Castle. He trudges onward, annoyed that he can't relax and let his skeletons fight like a proper necromancer. With a weary smile, he resigns himself to staying on the front lines. Oh dear, he mutters as he and his skeletal entourage continue their journey through a sun-drenched forest. After a long trek, they finally arrive at the Raiders Association branch in Bangsu Castle. Inside, the hall bustles with adventurers while a stern man watches from a staircase. A cloaked man descends the stairs as the guard at the top watches him go. He's out, a player shouts, and the entire room erupts in a frenzy. A desperate mob swarms the cloaked man, grabbing him and demanding to know what quest he just received. Watching from the doorway, Jaehyun coldly observes the chaotic scene, thinking they're just like hyenas. He scoffs, musing that you can find such pathetic people anywhere. He looks on with disdain, criticizing the mob for not trying to find success on their own. As a player approaches to ask for a handout, Jaehyun scoffs internally, thinking that people only want to leech off others. Wham! The man grabs him, offering to share quests, but Jaehyun coldly tells him to get lost. Jaehyun walks away, knowing he must keep the Ambry quest a secret from these vultures. He approaches the guard on the stairs, presenting the letter of recommendation from Hotan. The guard confirms the letter and grants him access to the second floor, stunning the onlookers. The mob surges forward, trying to follow him by falsely claiming to be in his party, but Jaehyun dismisses their lies. Smirking, Jaehyun ascends the stairs, wondering what great reward his hidden quest will bring as he approaches a door. Planning to build a long-term relationship with the famous NPC, he knocks on the door and politely announces himself. He opens the door and peers inside, his eyes widening in surprise. The room is an absolute disaster, buried under mountains of disorganized books and scrolls. From behind a stack of books, a voice asks who he is. The man, identified as the NPC Ambry, states that he doesn't have any appointment scheduled for the day. Jaehyun, baffled by the NPC's unexpectedly cranky personality, introduces himself and presents Hotan's recommendation. Ambry glances at the letter, remarking that Jaehyun is skilled for a mere trainee, while Jaehyun thinks that all that matters is getting his reward. Ambry's hand glows with a purple light as he holds it over the letter. Jaehyun is ecstatic as two rare skill books, Bone Armor and Madness Helm, materialize before him. Overjoyed by the two super rare rewards, he begins to thank Ambry, who curtly declares that their business is concluded. A quest completion notification appears as Ambry dismissively walks away, telling him to take care on his way out. Wait! Jaehyun panics, wondering why the quest chain ended so abruptly and demanding the next one. He lunges after Ambry, shouting that he didn't come all this way just for a couple of skills. Desperate, he reaches out, promising to do anything for another quest. Ambry firmly grabs his outstretched hand, stopping him cold. With a glint in his eye, Ambry repeats Jaehyun's offer. "You'll do anything?" Ambry grins maniacally, thanking Jaehyun for his willingness, leaving him utterly shocked. A new quest appears, Egg of the Nest, with the absurd objective of fetching an egg for no reward. Jaehyun screams in silent horror, realizing he's been completely duped. Back in the crowded hall, a heavily armored figure walks through the bustling crowd. The other players stare in awe at the knight's incredibly expensive-looking gear. The knight strides purposefully toward the association building. The knight's green eyes glow with determination from within their helmet. The door to Ambry's study slams shut, leaving Jaehyun alone in the upstairs hall. Wah! Crying, Jaehyun comes to the devastating conclusion that it's actually possible to get scammed by an NPC. He fumes at the ridiculous egg quest, furious that there isn't even a reward. Crushed, he wonders if he has to do it, when a voice from behind him asks, "Do what?" The armored knight leans over him, asking if he's talking about a quest. Lying on the floor in despair, Jaehyun is suddenly startled by the realization that he's not alone. The mob of players descends upon him, shouting that he got a quest and mobbing him. Trapped beneath the pile of players, he curses himself for forgetting about them. He briefly considers killing them all, but instead shouts for them to move. Hua, the armored knight, unleashes a powerful shockwave, effortlessly blasting the entire mob away from Jaehyun. Jaehyun looks up from the floor to see the knight towering over him, asking for a moment of his time. The armored knight calmly states their desire to speak somewhere more private. Jaehyun angrily tells them to get lost, but the knight simply asks for his cooperation. Leaning closer, the knight addresses him by a name only few should know, Mr. Haho Mask. Jaehyun's eyes widen in absolute shock. The knight leads a bewildered Jaehyun down a quiet city alley. The knight apologizes for the earlier trouble, but Jaehyun remains on guard. Explaining they needed privacy, the knight taps a device on their gauntlet. A blue holographic projection of a man with glasses and spiky hair appears, leaving Jaehyun completely baffled. Jaehyun deduces from the gear that this person must be a high-level ranker, yet he has no memory of ever seeing them before. Jaehyun stares suspiciously at the armored man, wondering how he could possibly know his secret identity as Haho Mask. Deciding to play dumb, Hirkin feigns ignorance and asks who this Haho Mask is. The armored man presses on, revealing he knows Hirkin just received a quest from the NPC Ambry. Hirkin grabs the man, angrily demanding to know who he is and why he should share any information. He aggressively challenges the man to a fight, suggesting they wager their accounts on the outcome. With determined eyes, Hirkin resolves to maintain his facade of ignorance. The armored man falls silent, seemingly taken aback by Hirkin's intense reaction. He concedes, apologizing for the mistake and extending his hand for a handshake. Hirkin forcefully grabs the man's hand, taunting him for backing down. As Hirkin walks away with a warning, the armored man scoffs, calling him a pathetic jerk looking for a fight. The armored man quietly watches Hirkin leave, his expression unreadable. A cloaked woman appears beside him as he speculates that Hirkin isn't their target, though he admits the boy is skilled. He continues his thought, stating that anyone who has played Warlord for some time would know better, than to carelessly reach out with an arm wearing the war watch, recalling Hirkin's rash handshake. The cloaked woman sighs, questioning if they need to keep watching Ironbrie now that the Corrupt Count quest is almost over. Adjusting his glasses, the armored man insists they shouldn't take any unnecessary risks. The cloaked woman reluctantly agrees to return to her post, bidding him farewell. Suddenly, the windows to Ambri's study fly open with a bang. Peeking out from a nearby building, Hirkin is stunned to realize he was being watched by two people. He deduces they must be part of a larger organization, since they didn't try to make a deal like a normal guild would. Hirkin concludes they're far from average players for testing him in such a way. His gaze hardens with resolve. The scene shifts to a serene, sunlit forest clearing. Hirkin sits in meditation, flanked by his skeletons, contemplating his next move. He is certain now that there's much more to the nest egg quest than it seems. He connects the dots. They saw his corrupt werewolf video and knew Haho Mask would get the Ahi quest. Since they let him go, he realizes they don't care who he is, only about the quest itself. He grows anxious, realizing that continuing the quest will lead to another confrontation and force him to stop uploading videos. A crazed grin spreads across his face as he wonders why his life is constantly being ruined by psychos. He laments that a woman named Chae Seol-yeon is already more than he can handle. The scene cuts to Chae Seol-yeon's secretary, Park Soo-ji, congratulating her boss. Park Soo-ji rushes to Chae Seol-yeon, who has just emerged from a high-tech pod, asking how the guild entrance exam went. Taking a bottle from her secretary, Chae Seol-yeon coldly declares that the applicants were all trash. She chugs from the bottle, infuriated that none of them were useful, as a terrified Park Soo-ji watches. Changing the subject, Chae Seol-yeon asks for an update on Haho Mask, the player she mentioned previously. Park Soo-ji nervously reports that he hasn't responded, guessing he may have joined another guild. Hike! Enraged at the thought, Chae Seol-yeon crushes the bottle, sending her secretary into a panic. The panicked secretary promises to investigate again, but Chae Seol-yeon tells her to only return when she has a definitive answer. Park Soo-ji stammers that the player hasn't said anything yet, as Chae Seol-yeon looks on menacingly. A confident smirk appears on Chae Seol-yeon's face as she stands. While Park Soo-ji stares in awe, Chae Seol-yeon orders her to gather a new set of applicants by tomorrow morning. The secretary is horrified by the impossibly short deadline. Without a word, Park Soo-ji bolts from the room to carry out the order. The scene returns to Hirkin, emerging from murky water and noting it's been a while since he was last here. He and his skeletal trio stand at the edge of the foreboding lizard swamp. He reasons that since Ambry is in Bangsu Castle, the quest location must be in the same region. After considering all the places he could go at his current level, the lizard swamp was the only logical destination. He calls a skeleton forward, deciding it's time to use the enhancement skill he recently acquired. A skill window for Madness Helm appears, explaining it requires drawing an engraving and casting a spell to activate. After applying the skill, which causes his minion's head to glow with red energy, he orders it to attack him for a test run. A skill description warns that there is a chance the enhanced summon will lose its sanity. Helm on, Hirkin commands, and the skeleton's eyes flare with red, inscribed energy. A surge of crimson power erupts from the skeleton, startling Hirkin. Hirkin marvels at the cool transformation, noticing the skeleton has even grown horns. The skill special note appears again, reminding him of the risk of his summon losing its sanity. Okay, we need to test it, Hirkin says, ordering the empowered minion to attack him. Kuwa! The berserk skeleton lunges with glowing red eyes, letting out a furious roar. This guy Hirkin gasps, shocked that his minion is actually trying to kill him. He instantly counters with a powerful punch, sending the skeleton's head flying. Hirkin watches as the disembodied head bounces away, while the other two skeletons stand by cluelessly. He furiously reprimands the twitching skeleton, demanding to know how it dared to scream at him. Checking his wrist, he wonders if the skill is just bugged. He worries that he was scammed by the skill itself, as his skeletons remain useless. Creak! Suddenly, a pack of level 30 lizardmen emerges from the swamp water. Hirkin smirks, seeing a perfect chance for a real field test. He activates Madness Helm again, noting the 1.2 times stat increase for his summon. And while we're at it, he casts Bone Armor, equipping the skeleton with a chest plate. Kuwa, the newly armored and enraged skeleton, lets out another ferocious battle cry. The lizardmen recoil in surprise as Hirkin commands his skeletons to attack. Glowing with red fury, his 3 upgraded minions charge toward the lizardmen. A skeleton effortlessly parries a lizardman's axe with its sword. Another skeleton blocks a powerful blow, its new bone armor absorbing the impact. A lizardman shrieks as the horned skeleton appears menacingly behind it. The horned skeleton strikes with incredible speed and power. A system notification announces the defeat of 3 lizardmen, granting Hirkin experience and 2 level-ups. Hirkin proudly watches his minions decimate the monsters with their newfound power. "This is great," he exclaims, blushing with pure joy at their success. He informs his skeletons that they'll hunt monsters for the next week to find the egg, moving on if necessary. As they depart, a woman with long black hair, Ilya, watches them silently from the bushes. She strikes a confident, sparkling pose amidst falling flower petals. As you can see, she begins, "I am a top-tier beauty." She muses that everyone likes her, flashing back to a crowd of admirers calling her Ilya Nim. Smirking, she thinks that her slaves will always help her if she acts troubled. Her graceful thought is cut short as she slips and tumbles headfirst into a pool of green mud. "Oh," she groans, covered in filth. "This stupid place, I hate it." In a flashback, a man had charmed her by offering to help her level up. But he died immediately, leaving her stranded and terrified in the dangerous swamp. Desperate, she wonders if she can trick someone new, just as she spots Hirkin and his skeletons fighting nearby. Hirkin pauses, sensing a presence. From the bushes, Ilya spots her target and grins deviously, having found a new slave. Hirkin turns, alerted by a sudden scream. Ilya makes a show of running towards him, before dramatically tripping and crying out for help. She looks up with teary eyes, claiming the monsters injured her legs. With a sultry gaze, she asks if it doesn't pain him to see such a beautiful lady suffering. Unimpressed, Hirkin and his entire skeletal entourage turn and walk away without a word. "You're just leaving," she shrieks in utter disbelief, her face contorted with rage. As she calls out to Mr. Necromancer, Hirkin dismisses her as just another crazy person. "How?" she seethes, her face twitching with fury. Her expression darkens malevolently as she bites her lip, enraged that he would dare ignore her. In the distance, Hirkin calmly watches his skeletons continue their hunt, completely unfazed. Hirkin sighs in exasperation as a monstrous lizard man looms behind his skeleton warrior. He scoffs internally, annoyed by Ilya's pathetic act of feigning pain. He recalls ignoring her earlier, not wanting to waste his time on her theatrics. Frustrated, he notes that she has been relentlessly following him, still crying for help. He recalls the faces of other players, infuriated by those who don't take the game seriously. Deciding it's easier to just deal with her, he turns and bluntly asks what she needs, startling her. She claims to have dropped her sword in a swamp and asks for his help, to which he coldly agrees but tells her to leave immediately after. She thanks him profusely, her gratitude a little too enthusiastic, as she promises to remember his help. A sinister, crazed smile spreads across her face as she thinks, "Gotcha." He points to a sword sticking out of the murky water, identifying it for her. As she thanks him again, Hirkin reminds her to get lost once he retrieves it for her. With a simple command, he orders his skeletons to go get the sword. The 3 skeletons awkwardly fumble at the water's edge, trying to retrieve the sword. Ilya thanks him again while secretly thinking that necromancers are helpless without their summons. With a wicked grin, she reveals a glowing crystal, believing her trap is sprung. Furious that he dared ignore her, she lunges forward to attack him from behind. She screams, "Die!" as she rushes toward his unsuspecting back. Hirschkan whirls around with a confident smirk, simply stating, "Too slow." Kiank! With a powerful swing, he hurls her screaming into the sky. A massive geyser of swamp water erupts where she lands with a huge splash. She surfaces, sputtering furiously and cursing at him. Enraged and soaked, she threatens that her bodyguards will destroy him for what he's done. He points with a mischievous grin, taunting her with, "Behind you." Confused and wary, she turns around to see what he's pointing at. A terrifying trio of monstrous lizardmen rises from the depths, their red eyes glaring menacingly. "Kayak!" She screams in terror as Hirkan waves from the shore, telling her she needs to try harder if she wants to scam him. He sticks his tongue out and calls her an idiot, revealing he saw through her plan from the start. His expression darkens as he thinks to himself that he's had enough of being scammed. TSK, clicking his tongue in annoyance, he orders his skeletons to move out, having wasted enough time. As they leave, one of his skeletons mimics Ilya's earlier damsel in distress pose, much to Hirkan's chagrin. He snaps at his minion to stop learning weird things before he kills it. Ding! A notification announces that player Ilya has died, and Hirkan is shocked to receive points for it, calling it lucky. He smirks, recalling her empty threat about powerful bodyguards. He scoffs, betting his life she has no bodyguards, just as three men wearing hard headbands watch the incident on a screen. The swamp returns to its quiet, eerie state. A wounded man with glasses, one of Ilya's fans, struggles to stand, clutching a bloody sword. Hirkan stops the man, who vows to avenge Miss Ilya. Hirkan pauses, deciding to ask the man a single question. He questions the fan's motives, asking if he really thinks avenging Ilya will make her go out with him. The fan glares back, with a bloody, crazed grin. Hirkan is completely baffled by the fan's unhinged laughter. With hearts in his eyes, the fan unleashes a powerful, glowing slash. Hirkan effortlessly blocks the attack, stunned by the man's sudden bursts of power. His eyes widen in disbelief as he realizes the absurdity of the situation, muttering, "What a joke." A flashback shows Ilya's crazed face as she planned her ambush. In another flashback, her multiple attempts to get his attention by faking injuries are shown. A final flashback shows him tossing her into the swamp water. He remembers her final furious threat about her bodyguards as the memory fades. In a dramatic flashback, Ilya kneels tearfully before her adoring fans. Crying, she spins a tale of woe, claiming the Necromancer attacked her when she only asked for help. Her loyal fans react with pure, horrified rage at her story. Back in the present, a heavyset fan spots Hirkan and points, declaring him to be Ilya's enemy. Hirkan sighs, annoyed that on top of his quest troubles, he's now being hunted by a bunch of goons. Deciding against seeking revenge on Ilya, he inspects his loot from the fallen fan and obtains an ownerless war watch. A series of notifications reveals he also gained gold, boots, and a rare item, the Necklace of Promise. He's stunned, realizing the necklace is an incredibly rare and valuable item worth a fortune. With a blissful smile, one of Ilya's fans declares that love is great and asks Hirkan to join in worshipping their goddess, as Hirkan and his skeletons mockingly raise their arms in praise. Hirkan's pleasant daydream of a fancy dinner is interrupted when Ilya's fan with glasses spots him again. Hirkan mockingly welcomes the approaching mob, proudly declaring himself the one who killed Ilya. He and his skeletons face down an entire horde of Ilya's fans, all wearing matching heart headbands. The mob of players surges forward to attack him. With a grim look of determination, Hirkan clenches his fist, ready for a fight. Shouting for his death, the fans swarm him as he wonders just how many there are. In his mind's eye, a sinister Ilya directs her red-eyed, fanatical army. Overwhelmed by their numbers, Hirkan is pushed back. "Damn it," he mutters, realizing the disadvantage he's in. He sends his skeletons forward to engage the mob. Two fans note the skeleton summons and decide to leave the minions to their comrades. A heavyset fan unleashes a sparkling, heart-filled attack dubbed the Error of Love. Hirkan shouts in disbelief that no such skill should even exist. As a notification confirms his skeleton's destruction, Hirkan realizes he can't fight the higher-level mob head-on. He vows to get his revenge once he's leveled up. Hirkin executes a swift, evasive maneuver, leaping away from his pursuers. Ha! He pants, exhausted from the chase, leaning against a tree to catch his breath. Recognizing he's outmatched, he resolves to keep moving and shake them off. He stops suddenly, his senses alerting him to something unusual ahead. He finds himself at the edge of a strange, dark purple pool in the swamp. Confused, he wonders why he never saw this discolored part of the swamp during his days of searching. A smirk spreads across his face as he comes to a sudden, brilliant realization. Meanwhile, Ilya's fans search the forest, cursing the Necromancer and wondering where he vanished. One of the fans excitedly spots one of Hirkin's skeletons and points it out. The scene suddenly shifts into a psychedelic disco party, announcing, "Dance time." To the fans' bewilderment, Hirkin's skeletons have started breakdancing. A giant question mark bubble expresses the fans' absolute confusion. The group of fans stare in slack-jawed horror at the bizarre dancing spectacle. Enraged, the fans fume that the Necromancer is now insulting them after harming their precious Ilya. One of the fans snaps, charging forward and vowing to make him pay. Suddenly, a massive, draconic beast erupts from the dark swamp water with a roar. Hirkin and his skeletons can only stare up at the enormous monster that has appeared. One of the fans reels back in terror, asking what in the world that creature is. Another fan screams in panic, identifying the beast as a legendary dragon lizard. The colossal dragon lizard looms over the players, its red eyes glowing with malice. As the fans cry out in fear, Hirkin calmly watches, realizing the monster is the nest he's been searching for. His face breaks into a cold sweat as he understands the true identity of the dragon lizard. A system description reveals it's a boss monster with overwhelming stats that requires a large party of high-level players to fight. The description concludes that even a full raid party can barely hunt it down. Hirkin recalls that the dragon lizard raid was recently completed, meaning the boss shouldn't be present. He connects the dots. The boss respawned because he, a player with the related Egg of the Nest quest, entered its territory. With the dragon lizard present, Hirkin realizes this must be the location for Himbris's quest. He reflects on the absurdity of a Himbri sending a level 20 player to defeat such a monster for an egg. Wham, he seethes, imagining himself punching the smirking scammer who sent him on this impossible mission. Peeking from the trees, he eyes Ilya's fans and smirks, realizing he has some useful teammates. As Ilya's fans panic and decide to retreat from the dragon lizard, Hirkin's voice forbids them from leaving. A wicked, calculating grin spreads across Hirkin's face. His skeleton warriors, wreathed in red energy, suddenly move to block the fans' escape. The fans are stunned to find their path blocked by the three menacing skeletons. One of the fans shouts defiantly, declaring they will just force their way through the minions. Trapped, the fans realize the massive dragon lizard is looming right behind them. One of the fans spots Hirkin fleeing the scene while they're stuck. As he escapes, Hirkin mockingly thanks his unwitting teammates for their help. From a safe distance, he watches the dragon lizard attack the fans, urging it to "Get him!" He declares with false solemnity that he will never forget their noble sacrifices. With his path clear, he smirks, announcing that it's time for his real plan. He leaps into the now empty dragon lizard nest, ready to rob it blind. Landing inside, he cheekily announces his arrival and thanks the beast in advance for the egg. His confident expression instantly shatters into one of utter disbelief. He looks around the vast empty nest, unable to find the egg anywhere. Frantically, he scrambles through the nest, insisting the egg has to be here somewhere. His search ends as he uncovers a strange, stone-like egg with a glowing purple symbol. He stares at the odd object, sweating with confusion and uncertainty. He concludes that while it looks more like a stone, it's the most suspicious and egg-like thing he can find. Ding! A system notification alerts him that one of his skeleton warriors has been destroyed. He realizes the dragon lizard must be returning after sensing an intruder, and that his time is up. The terrifying head of the dragon lizard appears over the edge of the nest, its red eyes glowing. Creve. The monster lets out a furious roar, shaking the nest. Hiding, Hirkin knows he can't search again and must make a quick decision. He clutches the stone-like object, resolving to take it even if it isn't the real egg. The scene shifts to a Himbri, the quest giver, sitting calmly at his desk. The Egg of the Nest quest details are shown, revealing a mysterious prize and no listed reward. In the aftermath of the battle, the bodies of Ilya's fans lie scattered in the swamp. The battlefield is silent, littered with the defeated players. Cough. Hirkin approaches the last surviving fan with glasses, who lies battered on the ground. He leans down with a sinister grin, casually greeting the wounded player with, "Yo!" Holding a knife to the fan's throat, he muses that Warlord's freedom breeds a lot of freaks. The fan shouts in terror as Hirkin presses the blade against his neck. Hirkin stares coldly, his reflection in the fan's cracked glasses as he prepares to make a point. Pinning the fan down, he states that while he's been playing along, he has a lot on the line in this game. His expression darkens as he delivers a final warning to the fan and Ilya. Next time, they won't get off so easily. He grinds his boot into the terrified fan's back, emphasizing his threat. Uag. In a blur of motion, he swiftly takes out the last of Ilya's followers. Walking away, he vows that if they dare come after him again, it will be a full-out war. Deciding to earn some extra cash, he contacts the Bangtsu Guild to report a dragon lizard sighting. He offers to sell the monster's exact location for 100,000 gold, insisting it's not a prank call. The strange stone egg is placed on a desk, stacked with books. Now wearing a patched cloak, Hirkin awkwardly presents the thing he brought back to Ahimbri. He anxiously sweats, desperately hoping this is the correct item for the quest. As Ahimbri's eyes glow while inspecting the item, Hirkin silently begs not to have to search the map again. Hirkin holds his breath, filled with nervous anticipation, as Ahimbri seems to recognize the object. Ahimbri's lips curve into a knowing smile as he confirms Hirkin's desperate hope. His eyes gleam with approval, recognizing the significance of the item Hirkin has brought him. Ahimbri congratulates a stunned Hirkin, confirming he's found the correct item, and praising his good work. Yes, Hirkin celebrates his success internally. As Ahimbri notes, he returned much faster than expected. Ahimbri admits he thought the quest would take much longer, enraging Hirkin, who realizes the NPC knowingly sent him on a near-impossible mission. Suppressing his annoyance, Hirkin states he gave it his all and eagerly asks for the next quest. Ahimbri catches him off guard, asking if he truly understands the nature of the object he's holding. He explains that this strange stone was consistently found in areas overrun with mutated monsters. He reveals its temporary name, clutching the ominous object, the Corruption Stone. Hirkin has a shocking flashback, suddenly understanding that the mysterious group hunting him was after this stone. A description reveals the Corruption Stone is a crucial item tied directly to the game's main quest. The narrative explains their goal: to ensure this game-altering item fell into the right hands. Hirkin reflects on how he initially dismissed the Egg of the Nest quest as a worthless scam. Stunned by the revelation, a humbled Hirkin apologizes for his earlier doubts. Ahimbri explains that the treacherous quest was intentionally designed to test his willpower. With the test passed, Ahimbri formally asks if he is now ready to join the fight against corruption. Hirkin clenches his fist, readily accepting his role in the main quest and affirming his willpower. He passionately declares his devotion, but Ahimbri abruptly tells him it's not time for that yet. Hirkin's triumphant moment shatters as Ahimbri apologizes, stating he can't give the quest to a low-level beginner. Furious, Hirkin worries he's too weak to continue, but Ahimbri adds a sly. However, Ahimbri makes a ridiculous, mocking face, leaving Hirkin completely baffled by his bizarre behavior. Hirkin storms out of the room, bewildered by the whole encounter. System notifications flood his vision, confirming quest completion, a new title, and the next quest, return to Ahimbri at level 40. Blushing with embarrassment, Hirkin realizes he's been played and concludes that Ahimbri is an absolute scammer. The scene shifts to the dragon lizard, now engulfed in flames as it's defeated by another party. A new group of players, the Bangtsu Guild, celebrates their victory after a voice commands the battle to cease. The raid party breathes a collective sigh of relief, their difficult battle against the dragon lizard finally over. A guild member congratulates his captain, who then tells everyone to rest before regrouping. The captain turns to thank a mysterious helper, admitting he was far stronger than they'd anticipated. He calls out to the helper, who is revealed to be the armored man with glasses. The helper modestly credits the guild's support for their success. The captain insists they would have lost many members without him, giving him full credit for their flawless victory. He admits he was skeptical about hiring outside help for a boss raid, but is now extremely glad he did. The captain offers the helper a pouch of gold as a token of gratitude. The helper rejects the bonus payment, stating it wasn't part of their agreement, though the captain insists it's extra. With a severe expression, the helper states that he does not like to violate the rules. The captain is taken aback, confused as to why a helper wouldn't be motivated by money. He ponders the strangeness of a high-level ranker joining a low-level raid, wondering about the helper's true identity. The helper declares that he will now collect his payment, every single item from the dragon lizard's nest. The captain shouts in protest, confused because the nest should be completely worthless. The armored man with glasses strides confidently toward the nest to claim his reward. He smirks, considering himself lucky to have this opportunity to acquire the corruption stone. He recalls hearing about the dragon lizard's respawn and worrying that his rival, Ha-Ho Mask, was already on the quest. However, since the monster was still alive, he correctly deduced that Ha-Ho Mask must have failed. His shadow looms over the spectral image of the dragon lizard as he confirms his theory. He rushes into the nest, musing that it takes more than just skill to defeat a boss monster. With a sinister grin, he finalizes his plan: take the corruption stone and prevent Ha-Ho Mask from completing the quest. He arrives at the nest, ready to claim the prize. He stops dead in his tracks, his confident expression dissolving into shock as he finds the nest completely empty. In a dark room, a man sits before a screen, his face shadowed in thought and quiet contemplation. In a dark room, Hurricane clutches his head, remembering all the painful days he's endured. With newfound resolve, he declares he'll do it. He's going to order beef. He joyfully celebrates, figuring that since he's on the main quest, he can finally stop conserving money on food. Smiling gleefully, he decides to convert his in-game earnings to real money as a well-deserved reward. His phone shows a successful deposit from Warlord, bringing his balance to over 1.4 million won. His joy turns to confusion as rapid deductions for rent, bills, and debt repayment flash across the screen. Blood streams from his mouth in shock as he sees his final balance is a mere 856 won. He furiously realizes that not only is his steak dinner impossible, but he now can't afford any food at all. Blip. Collapsed on the floor in despair, he wonders why he's so broke after working so hard as his phone chimes. He receives messages from someone named Romani, who asks if he's alive and if he has quit W2. Holding his phone, he worries that he can't make more videos since strange people are after him. He angrily questions why he should worry about being hunted when he's about to starve, insisting he's just an innocent gamer. Snapping, he screams that he doesn't care anymore. He resolves to do his own thing from now on. The scene shifts to a dark, desolate graveyard. Back in the game, Jaehyun and his skeletons traverse the eerie, blue-tinged woods. A notification confirms he has entered the Forest of the Dead, and he smirks confidently. Flanked by his minions, Hurricane remarks that the spooky forest never fails to give him chills. He notes that the area is perfect for gaining experience and that its creepy atmosphere will be great for attracting views to his videos. He rallies his skeletons, announcing that it's time to hunt, but first, he introduces a new teammate, a skeleton mage, and instructs his minions to get along with their new magical ally. He explains the skeleton mage is a skill from the scammer Ahimbri that can use increasingly powerful spells. He frets over the skill's high mana cost before turning his attention to the day's hunt. He points to a giant skeletal hand emerging from the ground, identifying it as their target. A massive skeleton monster begins assembling itself from the earth. A hulking level 33 skeleton rises, letting out a silent roar. Confused, Hurricane's minions question how they're supposed to fight this powerful enemy, but he simply says, it's here. He glances back at his dithering skeletons, asking them what they're doing. He commands his startled minions to go hunt the monster down. As his skeletons charge, he explains that undead monsters have a trait that sets them apart from normal creatures. He exasperatedly asks what they're doing, as his skeletons just stand around, unable to figure out how to attack. He angrily tells them to stop wasting time, as they have much to do. One of his skeletons leaps to attack, but its weapon passes harmlessly through the enemy. The skeleton mage's spell also phases right through the impervious undead monster. The enemy skeleton remains completely unscathed. The monster reassembles itself, much to the bewilderment of Hurricane's minion. Hurricane explains that normal attacks won't work on this type of enemy. He summons a rare mage's hammer, a weapon that grants a plus 35 strength bonus. With a manic grin, Hurricane swings the glowing blue hammer with all his might. He lands a devastating blow directly on the enemy skeleton's skull. Watching the monster crumble to dust, he casually remarks, "Wow, a home run." He points, explaining to his minions that they need to hammer the head. His skeletons clutch their own skulls in a moment of horrified realization. He announces their goal for the day: Hunt down 100 skeletons in 100 minutes for a time attack video. A sadistic grin spreads across Jaehyun's face as he relishes the challenge. His skeletons tremble, their eye sockets filling with tears of fear. Skeleton heads fly as system notifications confirm 2 kills and a level up. Jaehyun stands proudly with his foot on a skull, pleased with their progress. He smiles, impressed that his skeletons learn to use the new weapons faster than he anticipated. Confident that his new video will be a success, he decides to contact Romani. Jaehyun stands defiantly before a colossal, armored skeleton warrior radiating a menacing red aura. He instantly recognizes the monster as a rare, randomly spawning skeleton warrior. The menacing skeleton is humorously contrasted with a cute chibi-style version. An unseen figure, confused, watches as Jaehyun commands his minions forward, shouting, "Get him! My beef!" Completely distracted, Jaehyun daydreams about his dinner plans, wondering whether he should have steak or just grill it. He continues to muse that beef bulgogi sounds good, oblivious to the massive red attack hurtling toward him. The giant warrior's weapon smashes the ground, narrowly missing Jaehyun and his skeletons. His minions are sent flying from the powerful shockwave. Breathing heavily, Jaehyun admits the attack was terrifying, lamenting that he almost died before doing anything. He feels relieved he chose to target the monster's arm first, as the creature clutches its damaged wrist. As the enraged skeleton warrior prepares to strike again, Jaehyun considers his next move. The massive, undead monster looms over Jaehyun, raising its giant weapon for another crushing blow. Jaehyun and his skeletons evade the attack, their movements enhanced by a flash of blue energy. Kree! His skeletons swarm the monster's leg, landing several blows. Jaehyun checks on his saluting skeletons, asking if everyone is okay after the assault. Believing the foe is weakened, he remarks that the fight was easier than he expected. Suddenly, the monster's giant fist swings down toward him and his unaware minions. Jaehyun curses the monster's impatience as he's caught off guard by the swift attack. Just then, a robed skeleton mage appears in the graveyard, conjuring a fiery spell. The mysterious mage gathers a large ball of fire between its hands. It unleashes the powerful fireball toward the battle. System notifications confirm he has slain the skeleton warrior and gained experience points. Jaehyun sighs in relief as the battle concludes. Watching the skeleton burn, he feels confident the footage will earn at least 10,000 views. He declares that the fight has made him hungrier and decides he'll grill his beef after all. His victory is cut short by a notification. The field boss has detected its underling's death, and Jaehyun reacts with shock. Another alert declares that the field boss has found intruders, accompanied by a glowing sigil. A final warning flashes. The field boss is awakening, and a massive magic circle appears on the ground. Jaehyun and his minions stare up in awe as the golden magic circle pulsates with immense power. His shock quickly turns into a wide, excited grin. What? A massive, ornate golden skeleton roars as it materializes from the light. It is revealed to be the boss monster of the Forest of the Dead and the game's first mage-class boss. The ground around them is littered with the blood-soaked corpses of previous challengers. Jaehyun smirks, admitting he wasn't even thinking about fighting a boss. He rallies his troops, believing that with full buffs they can defeat the boss, and orders them to get ready. With a determined look, he dashes forward to lead the attack. But a notification pops up. His summoning has been undone due to lack of mana, and he stares in disbelief. Huh? The golden skeleton boss clasps its hands, beginning to channel a powerful spell. A brilliant golden aura surrounds the boss as it gathers energy. Jaehyun stands alone as his skeletons vanish just before the boss unleashes its power. He panics as his skeleton minions, looking just as shocked, dematerialize around him. He realizes his mistake, concluding it was only natural he ran out of mana after summoning 4 minions and having the mage cast so many spells. With no other choice, he watches as the glowing golden skeleton prepares to attack him. Now completely alone, Jaehyun faces the massive, dust-shrouded boss. He glances at his watch and smirks, deciding it's time to warm up his own body for a change. Slot. A chilling, sharp-toothed grin spreads across his face. He powers up, his body erupting in a fierce, crackling blue aura. The empowered Jaehyun and the golden skeleton face off, ready for their one-on-one duel. The boss retaliates by launching a volley of enchanted bone shards. Glowing with divine light, the golden skeleton gathers its immense power for a devastating attack. Jaehyun dodges desperately, leaping through the maelstrom of bone shards. He grins nervously, realizing a single hit would be fatal from this newbie killer. The golden skeleton unleashes a barrage of magical attacks from glowing golden sigils. Jaehyun charges forward, deciding he must stop the boss from casting its spells. Quang! He shatters one of the boss's hands, but the golden skeleton only glows with more intensity. As its magic circle cracks, the boss looks on in shock. Jaehyun realizes the boss's hands are directly connected to its powerful spells. With renewed purpose, he decides his new strategy is to destroy all of its hands. The golden skeleton seems to pause, gathering energy in its jaw. A notification appears. The field boss is gazing at him, leaving Jaehyun utterly confused. The system alerts him that the boss has seen through him and is now gauging his skill level. The boss's skeletal hands intertwine in a complex, menacing gesture. Suddenly, the boss erupts in a new, violent purple aura, its magic changing completely. Stunned by the sudden shift, Jaehyun wonders what is happening. The golden skeleton unleashes a devastating beam of concentrated purple energy. Gritting his teeth, Jaehyun struggles to withstand the sheer force of the new attack. He yells in shock as he frantically flees the massive energy beam tearing through the graveyard. Cursing, he glances back, realizing the attack is quickly closing in on him. He panics as the beam catches up, his eyes wide with grim determination. He pushes himself to his absolute limit, desperately trying to outrun the blast. The attack finally hits, sending him tumbling violently across the blasted earth. He struggles to rise from the rubble, shaken and wounded. Baffled by the sudden change, he wonders what's going on. He stares at the destruction, realizing the boss is using a crazy attack pattern he can't recall. Deep in thought, he questions whether his memory of the game is failing him. He wonders if the boss had hidden patterns, or if a game update changed its mechanics. Sighing, he admits that after years, he simply can't remember the details. He clenches his hammer, frustrated by his lack of summons and foggy memory. Uncaring of his plight, the golden skeleton channels another powerful purple spell. Jaehyun stands alone, watching the overwhelming power gather before him. He drops his weapon, deciding on a new course of action for now. He steels himself, resolving to try everything he possibly can to survive. With stunning agility, he weaves through a rapid-fire volley of energy blasts. A confident smirk plays on his lips as he focuses intently on the battle. He knows he can dodge the attacks as long as he can predict their trajectory. But as he evades another blast, he realizes the constant dodging leaves him no time to counterattack. He frantically scans the chaos, searching for any kind of blind spot or opening. His eyes widen in alarm as he suddenly realizes he's made a critical error. Ugh. He grunts in pain as an energy blast grazes him. The golden skeleton seizes the opportunity, lunging forward to grab him with its massive hands. Caught in the boss's grip, Jaehyun lets out a grim, frustrated laugh. He wonders how many patterns the boss has, lamenting the game's luck-based nature as it prepares another attack. The boss's giant hands begin to close in, ready to crush him. But with a sly grin, Jaehyun reveals he has one more hidden card up his sleeve. He unleashes Demon's Curse, enveloping himself in a swirl of dark purple magic. A notification confirms the curse has weakened the boss, decreasing its stats by 13%. Seizing the moment, Jaehyun launches himself out of the boss's grasp and toward its head. He declares that the boss's reckless attack just gave him the opening he needed. Powering up with crackling blue energy, he mockingly thanks the monster for the opportunity. Surrounded by a vortex of power, Jaehyun dives in for a devastating finishing blow. An explosion of pure blue energy erupts from the point of impact. Quang! The shockwave blasts across the ground, kicking up dust and debris. The golden skeleton's skull shatters into pieces from the devastating blow. Jaehyun smirks with glowing eyes as a notification confirms the boss has been defeated. The boss's massive body disintegrates in a brilliant flash of golden light. Jaehyun lands gracefully on the now quiet battlefield. Standing amidst the lingering energy, Jaehyun receives a notification that he has gained experience points. System alerts shower him with rewards, experience, gold, the new title Skeleton Destroyer, and a level up. He lets out a relieved laugh, muttering to himself in disbelief. Clutching his head, he admits it was a close fight that he would have lost if it had gone on any longer. As the notification confirms, disabling slot on, the dark aura around him fades. He pulls up his status window, confirming he's now Jaehyun, a level 36 Necromancer. He celebrates wildly, ecstatic to have already reached level 36. His celebration subsides as he realizes continuing with his current limitations will be dangerous. He reflects that his rapid leveling and titles have carried him so far, but with more skills to manage, he realizes his current resources are no longer enough. He laments that his strength-focused build is useless without the mana to sustain his skeleton warriors. Frustrated, he despairs over his lack of money for better gear despite having all available mana titles. He finally sighs, deciding to stop worrying about it for now. Leaping joyfully through the graveyard, he decides to send the video to Romini, aim for level 40, and celebrate with beef ramen. The scene shifts to a computer monitor playing back Hirken's triumphant boss-defeated moment. Click a cursor, pauses the video playback. In a cozy room, Romani sighs as she finishes watching the footage. Whack! She furiously punches a plushie on her desk. Punching the plushie repeatedly, she screams in disbelief, wondering if Hirken is insane. She throws her hands up, shocked that he beat a higher-level boss without taking a single hit. Falling back in her chair, she marvels that he improvised such an incredible feat on the spot. Impressed, she notes the raw footage is so good it barely needs editing and decides to send him the final file. As she types, she brainstorms a title, musing on his one-man domination of skeletons. With a determined grin, she finalizes her choice. Emperor of Solo Play. The scene changes to the Bongsu Castle branch of the Raiders Association. Hirken reports to a man at a desk, announcing he's returned stronger as requested. The man, a Himbri, is shocked by his ragged appearance, but Hirken cheekily blames him and asks for his reward. Amused, a Himbri agrees and presents the promised reward. A quest completion window pops up, granting Hirken the skillbook Osteology. His eyes widen in shock as he registers the impossibly rare skill. A description reveals Osteology boosts skeleton stats, reduces their mana cost, and allows an additional summon. He realizes the mana reduction is exactly the solution he desperately needed. He gratefully accepts the glowing book. As a Himbri mentions, there's another reward. A Himbri looks on seriously, holding another item in his hand. He explains he used the corrupted stone to forge a ring, allowing Hirken to wield its power. The item is the Corrupted Tracker's Ring, a unique item with massive stat boosts and a powerful set bonus. Hirken shouts in disbelief at the sight of the legendary ring. He drools, realizing it's a rare reward given only to the first players to complete the main questline. He lunges for the ring, stammering his thanks in a fit of pure joy. But Himbri pulls the ring back, suddenly reconsidering giving it away so easily. Hirken freezes in confusion as a Himbri turns his back on him. With a playful laugh, a Himbri dashes off, taunting, "Catch me if you can." Hirken can only smile with exasperated amusement. Igniting with blue flames, Hirken gives chase, vowing to make a Himbri pay for the prank. A Himbri laughs maniacally as he throws his documents in the air, enjoying the chase. Thud Hirken finally pins a Himbri's hand down, forcefully taking the ring. Panting, Hirken catches his breath, cursing the crazy old man and admitting he'd have killed him if he wasn't an NPC. Later, a Himbri gives Hirken a new mission, explaining he lost contact with an agent and wants him to investigate Suryu Castle. Hirken glares, reluctantly agreeing to let the prank slide just this once. Knowing Suryu Castle is a high-level zone, he decides to grind for more levels on his way there. Suddenly, he receives an urgent message from Romani about the Golden Skeleton video she just uploaded. The video, titled Warlord, Emperor of Solo Play, has already hit 2.35 million views. Donations and awestruck comments flood in, praising his incredible skill. Hirken stares in utter shock at his total earnings, a staggering 1,000,001. Slam. He stares at the glowing notification on his wrist, barely processing the number. Thud, he collapses to the ground, overwhelmed by the sudden windfall. He sits in a daze, silently counting the 8 zeros in his earnings. His mind immediately drifts to all the delicious food he can now afford, starting with a perfect steak. He daydreams of a succulent, mouth-watering ribeye. His fantasy expands to include tender filet mignon and rich strip-loin steaks. He imagines a magnificent feast of every food imaginable, realizing he can eat whatever he wants now. His eyes gleam with ecstatic greed as the reality of his wealth sinks in. Smirking, he admits he knew the video would do well, but never expected this level of success. Ding! Just as he decides to log out, another notification arrives. He's baffled by another 1,000,001 donation, accompanied by a direct message. The Thunder Hunters Guild officially offers to recruit him, leaving him completely stunned. His shock turns to rage as he realizes it's the guild of Jaehyun, a woman from his past. A memory flashes back to him, bluntly refusing Jaehyun's offer to join her team. He remembers angrily running from her persistent guildmates, wondering why they're still trying now. Kneeling in fury, he screams that he would never join the Thunderhunters, even if his life depended on it. He pauses, a sense of déjà vu washing over him as he feels he's said this before. He groans, exhausted by how annoying the situation has become. In a flashback, Jaehyun complains by a campfire, asking why she is so persistent after he's refused so many times. He angrily points out that he's already part of a guild. His guildmate Jaehyun tells him he's lucky, as the Thunderhunters are a top-tier guild. Around the campfire, a confused Jaehyun asks what he means, noting it makes sense for them to recruit someone like Jaehyun. Another guildmate explains that Jaehyun is so skilled that he's the star of all their raid videos. The guildmate admits Jaehyun is too good for them, but Jaehyun cuts him off, telling him to stop. Jaehyun passionately argues that he wants to make their guild the strongest, believing the money will follow. He reaffirms his loyalty, but his guildmate looks away with a troubled expression. The guildmate forces a smile, nervously agreeing with Jaehyun. Back in the present, Jaehyun grimaces, remembering the painful events that followed that night. He sighs, recalling that his guildmates betrayed and stabbed him for the recruitment offer. Whoosh. A flashback shows the brutal moment of his betrayal. Shaking his head, Jaehyun refocuses, deciding now isn't the time to get distracted by money. He rises to his feet with renewed purpose, knowing it's too early to be satisfied with his progress. He resolves to use all his new money to push himself even further. A fierce blue aura surrounds him as he prepares to summon his minions. His 4 loyal skeletons materialize from the blue flames, ready for his command. He tells his skeletons that they did everything in the last raid, so they need to get stronger. He declares their training starts today, focusing on efficiency to prevent another disaster like the last fight. He looks at his minions with a serious expression, asking if they are ready for the challenge. In the flashback, a guildmate tells Jaehyun to take it easy, questioning the intense training and pointing out they're not like him. In the present, his skeletons respond with an enthusiastic, unanimous thumbs up. Jaehyun smiles with renewed determination, declaring that this time will be different as he sets off. He stands confidently with his loyal skeleton army, ready for the path ahead. He addresses his minions, announcing their next destination is Suryu Castle. Suggesting they train on the way, his skeletons tremble with a mix of fear and excitement. He explains the simple training plan. They're going to run the entire way there. Laughing, Jaehyun leads the charge, forcing his terrified skeletons to run for their own lives. As they race toward a distant castle, he playfully taunts his trailing skeletons to catch up. The scene shifts to a woman with long black hair in a white uniform, sitting in quiet contemplation. A small, blue-robed figure approaches, asking the woman what she's thinking about. It's revealed she is perched atop the corpse of a massive, multi-headed hydra. The blue-robed man, Hatch of the Thunderhunters Guild, reminds her it's nearly time for the meeting. The woman leaps down, asking Hatch for an update on the corrupted count, but he reports no new leads. She clenches her fist in frustration, furious that the Hydra Guild beat them to the main quest line. Dismissing a meeting with those losers as pointless, she walks away as Hatch notes her cold-heartedness. Hatch watches her leave, quietly telling her to be careful. As she departs, someone off-screen addresses her as Guildmaster. The Guildmaster strides purposefully through a grand, brightly lit doorway. The scene flashes back to the Emperor of Solo Play video, viewed by millions. Jaehyun recalls his shock at seeing his earnings of 1 million won. His mind had immediately drifted to a fantasy of a succulent steak. The daydream expanded into a feast of every luxury food he could imagine, realizing he could eat anything he wanted. His eyes had gleamed with pure, ecstatic greed. A flashback shows the recruitment message from the Thunderhunter Guild, reigniting his desire for revenge. He recalls deciding his first course of action after receiving the money. Thump! He drops a heavy bag of cash on the floor. A nervous man stares in disbelief as Jaehyun informs him he's bought all his debt, with interest. Sitting atop a mountain of cash, Jaehyun triumphantly declares his debt officially paid off. Next on his list was to spend his remaining fortune on rare, powerful skill books. Back in the game, Jaehyun smiles, ready to use his new purchases. He comically weeps over his 0-1 balance now broke again, as his skeletons watch with pity. Sitting with his minions, he admits that seeing his empty bank account hurts, despite being prepared for it. Shaking it off, he decides to focus on learning the new skills he bought. He activates the first skill book, which glows with brilliant blue energy. A description for skin grafting appears. A passive skill that increases defense by attaching monster remains to him. Excited, he decides to try it immediately, agreeing to use skeleton warrior's horns to strengthen himself. A system notification confirms Jaehyun has gained the essence of a skeleton warrior, increasing his defense. He examines his hand, which now crackles with faint blue lightning. A glowing blue sword materializes in his hand. He unleashes a powerful test swing with his newly manifested weapon. Grinning, he assures his worried skeletons that the skill works even better than he expected. He moves on, slapping his hand onto the next skill book. A notification confirms he has obtained the skill Curse of Sloth. The description reveals it's a curse that slows a target's movement, with its effectiveness dependent on the target's power. He quietly considers the tactical advantage of a slowing curse. One of his skeletons gestures at him with a confused look. As Jaehyun smiles smugly, one of the skeletons erupts in a test run of the purple curse. He turns his attention to the final skill book. He obtains Summon Golem, revealing it was the hardest skill to get and the one he wanted most. The ground before him begins to crack and shake violently. As massive chunks of earth rise into the air, Jaehyun watches with satisfaction, knowing he has finally summoned one. A powerful tremor shatters the ground as the summoning ritual completes. Jaehyun and his skeletons watch in awe as a massive stone golem rises from the earth. Jaehyun squeals with delight, bragging to his skeletons that a golem makes a necromancer truly complete and is a more reliable tanker than anything. He grins mischievously, revealing there's more to this skill. He commands the golem to enter copy mode, and its single eye glows with activation. Crackling blue energy connects Jaehyun to his new, powerful golem. He explains that in copy mode, he can synchronize his own movements with the golem's. Surrounded by lightning, Jaehyun stands confidently, ready to test his new power. He explains that by combining the golem's strength with his movements, the effect will be immense. He throws a powerful punch, anticipating a devastating, synchronized attack. As Jaehyun strikes, the golem remains eerily still. Panicked, Jaehyun checks his wrist device, frantically wondering why the skill isn't working as his skeletons look on. Puzzled, he growls in frustration, wondering if the skill is bugged. The golem finally begins to raise its massive stone arm with agonizing slowness. It throws a comically slow punch, much to Jaehyun's dismay. Stunned, he asks if this is really as fast as the golem can move. He collapses into hysterical laughter, wondering what on earth he's supposed to do with this. His laughter turns to tears of rage as he screams in despair, cursing the garbage, pay to win game. The scene shifts to a holographic meeting room, where a voice announces that everyone has arrived. As the meeting begins, 4 holographic guild leaders sit around a massive table. Nergal, leader of the Ares Guild, thanks the others for attending. Matadorchev, leader of the Red Bulls Guild, greets the familiar faces with a confident smirk. Berg, leader of the Big Smile Guild, grunts in acknowledgement. Thunderlord Ser, leader of the Thunder Hunters Guild, sits silently, observing the others. Berg complains that only 4 of the 29 invitees showed up, but Matadorchev remarks that it's more than he expected. Nergal finds the low turnout from the top 30 guilds to be highly unusual. A blood-splattered globe represents the fierce competition between the world's top guilds. Nergal states that such a meeting is rare, but the circumstances are dire. He delivers the shocking news. The Hydra Guild has identified the corrupt count and is planning the final raid in 1 month. Matadorchev reacts with disbelief, realizing the Hydra Guild must have pulled off something impossible to get so far ahead. Berg furiously declares that if they let Hydra succeed, they will monopolize all future main quests. Annoyed by his whining about sponsorships and ads, Sarah tells him to shut up. Enraged, Berg challenges the Thunder Lady, his hand crackling with energy. Matadorchev quickly intervenes, telling them to calm down, while Nergal agrees that fighting amongst themselves only helps Hydra. Seeing his opening, Nergal formally proposes an anti-Hydra alliance. The focus returns to the 4 guild leaders seated at the table. Nergal outlines the alliance's terms: a truce until the quest line ends, and a promise to share all information about the corrupt count. He asks for objections. Matadorchev reluctantly agrees, and Berg concedes they're doomed if they don't stop Hydra. With the alliance formed, Saray silently concludes the meeting. The scene shifts to Sarah, washing away the stress of the meeting in the shower. Water cascades over her as she reflects on the tense situation. Stepping out of the shower, she seethes, frustrated that they must team up with other guilds just to compete. She punches her wall, knowing they are finished if Hydra reaches the corrupt count first. Drying her hair, she picks up her phone with grim determination. She issues a command, ordering all guild members to monitor Hydra for any strange movements. With fire in her eyes, she vows that the corrupt count will be theirs, no matter what it takes. The scene returns to Jaehyun, who has arrived at the Raiders Association branch in Suryu Castle. Jaehyun stares in complete disbelief, unable to process what he's just been told. The association agent calmly repeats the new quest. He must go to Boboru Forest. The association agent explains that Bobi Forest is where Agent Miji went missing and asks Jaehyun to investigate. He pictures the terrifying glowing red monsters that inhabit the dreaded forest. Jaehyun stares in horror as the agent warns that refusing the quest means losing his corrupt tracker status. He remembers that Boboru Forest is filled with deadly level 70 monsters. He panics, realizing that entering such a dangerous area right now would be certain death. The agent states that Jaehyun's connection to a Himbri is why he was chosen and repeats the ultimatum: accept the quest or else. Stunned by the threat of losing his title, Jaehyun can only mutter, "What?" Ding! A nearby clock tower chimes, marking the passage of time. Jaehyun sits defeated in the middle of town, his head in his hands, as the world moves on around him. Clutching his head in despair, he groans, "Ha! What the hell?" A quest notification appears, showing a hooded archer for the mission, Find Miji. The quest details confirm he must find Agent Miji, with the penalty for failure being the loss of his corrupt tracker title. Jaehyun yells in frustration, realizing losing his status will kick him out of the main questline entirely. He sweats, admitting to himself that his habit of taking on impossible quests has finally backfired. He recalls his past victories against overwhelming odds, but knows this is a different level of challenge. In a flashback, he protests to the agent that he's been given a quest meant for players level 60 and higher. Overwhelmed, he weighs his impossible options, unable to give up the main quest but terrified of Boboru Forest. He overhears other players discussing how the Hydra Guild is about to complete the main quest, far ahead of everyone else. Wondering what happens to other quest lines when the main one ends, he has a sudden, shocking realization. Whoosh! A wicked grin spreads across his face as he formulates a daring new plan. The scene shifts to a dark castle, where a scout reports nothing unusual through his binoculars. Two Hydra Guild members on lookout complain about their boring stakeout mission. The one with orange hair is identified as Natal, Hydra's 8th in command. While one member daydreams about the rewards, Natal warns him not to get ahead of himself. Natal refocuses his subordinate, reminding him their mission is to secretly monitor the corrupt Count's castle. Just as he preaches about professionals staying cool, he shouts, "Whoa!" in surprise. A cheerful stranger charges them, announcing he's found Natal of Hydra, leaving the scouts stunned. The newcomer, Kims of the Red Bulls, gives them a friendly thumbs up and a casual greeting. Natal and his subordinate panic, wondering what a rival Red Bulls member is doing there. Kims cheerfully explains he's hunting a boss monster and casually asks if they're doing the same. The flustered Hydra members stammer, unable to give a straight answer. Kims leans in to tease Natal about looking sick, asking if he needs the bathroom, which Natal furiously denies. Announcing he'll be on his way, Kims tells them to take their time as Natal screams at him to come back. As Natal's subordinate flees in terror, Kims watches the chaos with a sly smile. He calmly activates his glowing wrist device. He reports to his guild, confirming the anonymous tip was real. Hydra's 8th in command is here. In the Red Bulls headquarters, Matador Chev and a red-haired woman stare at the intel, shocked that it's true. The red-haired woman admits she thought the tip was a prank, but sent Kims to check just in case. They ponder the motive of their anonymous informant, guessing it might be a Hydra traitor. Chev dismisses the concern, stating they can't be picky when they're about to lose everything to Hydra. Kims smirks, offering to start a fight to buy his guild some time. Matador Chev orders him to retreat, reasoning that Hydra's main forces are likely guarding the castle. Convinced they can't afford to lose him, Chev flatters Kims, who cheekily accepts the praise. As Kims boasts, a figure suddenly descends from the sky behind him. Crash. A massive, earth-shattering explosion erupts at the campsite. Thud. Back at HQ, Matador Chev and the red-haired woman react in horror, shouting Kim's name. Kim's calmly reports that it seems they weren't the only ones who received the anonymous tip. A powerful, blonde-haired warrior appears, whom Kim's identifies as the Crazy Chihuahua, the princess of the Thunder Hunters. Thunder Princess Hahui of the Thunder Hunters grins menacingly, demanding he tell her everything or die. The scene cuts away to a fierce wolf roaring at Hirken's massive stone golem in a dark forest. Kra. A vicious, red-eyed bear monster smashes its claws down on the golem's arm. The golem retaliates, winding up for a massive stone punch. Its fist connects with a powerful impact, staggering the beast. Hirken and his skeletons watch from a safe distance, as the golem and the monster stare each other down. As the battle rages, Hirken relaxes in a tree while his skeletons, sporting 3D glasses, enjoy the show. Hirken checks his device, but finds no search results, sighing about how quiet it is. He wonders where the replies are, certain that the emails he sent should have been received by now. He concludes that the only way to solve his problem without going to Boboru Forest is to let the quest to find Miji's shatter, abandoning it for another plan. The narration explains that the main questline of Warlord consists of multiple chapters. The current chapter is Chapter 1, centered on the Corrupt Count. Once the Corrupt Count is defeated, the chapter ends, splattering the portrait in blood. Hirken reasons he can't defeat the Count in time, and would rather prepare for the next chapter. His plan is revealed. He leaked information to multiple guilds so someone else would defeat the Count for him. He fumes in frustration, wondering why none of the guilds are responding to his tip. Suddenly, a notification appears. The Hydra Guild has started a live stream, catching him by surprise. The golem smashes the ground, finishing its fight. As dust settles, the golem stands victorious. The defeated bear monster lets out a final roar of defiance. Hirken drops from the sky, silencing the beast with a swift kick to the head. He tells the downed monster and his minions to be quiet because he needs to watch a live stream. Settling in with his crew, he opens the stream and greets the viewers. A Hydra Guild member announces that they've identified the Corrupt Count and are planning to conduct a raid. Hirken desperately prays that the raid will happen within the month. The Hydra spokesman prepares to announce the date of the raid. The raid is in 3 days, leaving Hirken and his skeletons completely shocked. Hirken recovers, smirking that while it's sooner than he expected, it's just as he predicted. He smiles quietly, pleased that his plan is falling into place. He giggles with delight, telling his baffled skeletons that this development is great. As the golem subdues the bear, Hirken notes that Hydra must be anxious because he spread the information around. He sits confidently in a tree, sure he doesn't have to worry, since Hydra has skilled players and is far ahead. He smirks, convinced that once the main quest is over, his happy life will finally begin. KUGHH. The scene shifts to a bloodied, fallen Hydra member in a winged helmet. A system message declares failure. All members of the Hydra Guild have died. In the real world, a young man with spiky black hair stares at his phone in absolute shock. He slams his phone down, shouting in disbelief. Furious, he rants that if they were going to fail in just an hour, they should have at least had a plan. Collapsing in despair, he wonders if he overestimated them and needs to find an alternative. Blink, another notification appears. The Red Bulls Guild has started their live stream. He realizes in shock that the Red Bulls is Matador Chev's guild. Recalling an image of the formidable Matador Chev, he anxiously wonders what's happening. Back in the game, a war-torn field begins to restore itself with glowing blue particles. Matador Chev watches the restoration, correctly deducing that Hydra must have failed their raid. He turns to his army with a confident smirk, asking if they saw what happened. He addresses his soldiers, acknowledging their foe is powerful enough to wipe out the entire Hydra Guild. A soldier expresses concern, stating they lack supplies and have a very low chance of success. But still, Matador Chev begins, stomping his foot decisively. He declares, with conviction, that the Red Bulls will take on the challenge. With his sword raised high, Matador Chev rallies his guild with a determined grin. His soldiers roar with unified purpose, ready to charge into battle. Watching the Red Bulls livestream, Hirken wonders if they're recklessly starting the raid immediately. Suddenly, the stream announcer reveals they have a partner for the raid, stunning Hirken. In-game, the armored boots of the Thunder Hunters Guildmaster stride onto the battlefield. The partner is revealed to be Thunder Queen Shiru, standing proudly before her guild's banners. In his room, Hirken stares at his phone, his face a mask of pure disbelief. He shouts her real name in shock as a portrait of Jaehyun appears on screen. The scene shifts to the Red Bull's encampment outside the corrupt Count's castle. Matador Chev smiles wryly, admitting that this development is unexpected. Jaehyun sits across from him, flanked by Thunder Princess Hahui and a hooded mage. Matador Chev asks if she's declaring war, but she coolly replies that they're currently allies. He smirks, bringing up that he heard one of his men was beaten up pretty badly. Jaehyun dismisses it as nothing, while Hahui cheekily adds it was just their way of saying hello. Clapping her hands, Jaehyun decisively states it's time to get down to business. She sits confidently, ready to discuss their true objective, the corrupt Count. Matador Chev feigns ignorance, but she cuts him off, stating she has no time for his games. Jaehyun smiles, seeing right through his act. She explains that his guild, unable to track the Count, suddenly being here is incredibly suspicious. Cornered, Matador Chev relents but claims they don't know who their informant was. Jaehyun smirks, asking if he truly believes the Hydra Guild will succeed in their raid. While Matador Chev seems unsure, she confidently declares that Hydra will fail. She explains that Hydra rushed their raid date and underestimated the first main quest boss. Matador Chev realizes her true purpose for being there and asks what she's getting at. Jaehyun gives a serene, knowing smile. Wham! She violently flips the table between them, catching Matador Chev completely off guard. As a man with a cat ear headband holds a knife to his throat, she proposes they raid the corrupt Count together. Jaehyun stands ready with her sword drawn, a determined smirk on her face. Matador Chev stares, realizing with a grimace that she wasn't bluffing during their alliance meeting. Now in full battle armor, Matador Chev points forward, saying it's just as he expected. The raid begins, with Jaehyun gracefully cutting down a horde of monsters. The corrupt Count appears, chuckling that they're not too bad for lowly scum. Surrounded by malevolent energy, he vows to crush their wills completely. A horrifying close-up reveals the grotesque, red-eyed monsters under his command. The allied forces scramble as a soldier shouts that the monsters are attacking again. Kuag, a Red Bull soldier, cries out in pain as a monster bites down on him. Matador Chev watches grimly, acknowledging that their forces are reaching their breaking point. Jaehyun clicks her tongue in frustration, noting there's no end to the monster waves. Matador Chev charges forward, creating an opening in the chaotic battle. He shouts for the Thunder Queen, telling her he's opening a path for her to advance. With a mighty swing of his sword, he smashes through the monster line. Jaehyun dashes through the opening, closing in on the corrupt Count. The corrupt Count snarls in fury, lashing out at her with his shadowy tendrils. She deftly dodges the attacks, weaving through the deadly assault. Her eyes glow with power as she leaps into the air, preparing a finishing blow. She flies past the corrupt Count, leaving him seemingly defeated. With lightning in her eyes, she declares that it's over. Her triumphant expression instantly turns to shock as she realizes her mistake. She is ensnared by the Count's tendrils, trapped high above the battlefield. Matador Chev screams Thunder Queen in utter horror from below. Undeterred, Jaehyun twists in midair, continuing her relentless assault. The corrupt Count looks up in surprise, caught off guard by her fierce counterattack. Her eyes glowing with power, Jaehyun launches a devastating attack on the corrupt Count. Wah! A brilliant beam of light pierces the corrupt Count, who screams in agony. Jaehyun lands gracefully, her attack seemingly finishing the boss. Matador Chev watches in awe, remarking that she looks scarier than he thought. Standing blood-spattered and victorious, Jaehyun looks down upon her defeated foe. Success. A system message announces the Red Bulls and Thunder Hunters have defeated the corrupt Count. In his room, Jaehyun stares at his phone in shock, learning that Jaehyun defeated the Count. Shaking off his surprise, he decides it doesn't matter who won, as long as the quest was cleared. He vows that Jaehyun should enjoy her victory, as it will be her last. A tense stare-down unfolds between the victorious Jaehyun and the vengeful Jaehyun. The scene shifts to a new location, the vast and rugged Bulkas Mountains. Jaehyun lands on a cliff, introducing himself as Jaehyun, with the in-game name of Jaehyun. He and his skeleton army charge forward into the new territory with gusto. Jaehyun reveals his dream to become the strongest and get revenge on those who screwed him over. He continues to smirk confidently, pondering a question. Suddenly, a pack of massive red-eyed boars appears, blocking his path. His boot touches the ground as he announces his arrival. He has reached the blocked field, a mysterious zone. Hershey and his skeletons face a red energy grid at the Balkaz Mountains entrance. As his skeleton expresses confusion, Jaehyun explains that the blocked field requires a certain condition to be met for entry. His hand touches the barrier, which confirms he is restricted from entering. He smirks, revealing that he already knew that would happen. He explains that the Balkaz Mountains are the setting for Chapter 2's main questline. With the Chapter 1 questline cleared, he passes through the barrier, gaining automatic entry. He obtains the title, the first to step into the Balkaz Mountains, and receives stat boosts. Grinning, he celebrates being the first to figure out the secret entrance. He turns to his eager skeleton crew and tells them it's time to go. Taking a decisive step forward, he declares that from this point on, it's his time to shine as he runs headfirst into a new challenge. A monster info panel identifies the new enemies as level 60 wild boars. A status window shows Jaehyun is only level 41, and he realizes he's in over his head. He looks on in dawning horror, his own level starkly displayed. Squeal, the ferocious boars charge toward him with murderous intent. He panics, cursing his terrible luck for immediately running into such high-level monsters. Knowing others will soon discover the area, he resolves to try and fight despite his low chances. Skellies, helm on, he commands, preparing his minions for battle. One of his skeletons equips a horned helmet, its eyes glowing with red energy. A monstrous boar lunges forward, ready to devour its prey. The boar smashes through his skeleton forces, sending them flying. Jaehyun watches in disbelief as one of his skeletons is thrown through the air. A system message confirms his skeleton warrior was destroyed in a single hit, shocking him. He realizes the first attack was just bait, as a more powerful, purple-glowing boar appears. Facing the powerful beasts, he notes they'll be temporarily immobilized for about 5 seconds. He prepares to counterattack, drawing a glowing blue weapon. With a determined grin, he leaps into the air to strike. He lunges to avenge his skeleton, but is suddenly stopped mid-motion. Humbled by a banana peel, Jaehyun slips and tumbles helplessly through the air. Whump! He lands face first in the dirt, completely defeated. Blushing in humiliation, he looks up to see the culprit, a small, armored monkey giggling in the distance. The culprit is identified as a level 50 armor monkey, a monster that enjoys playing pranks on humans. Seething with rage, Jaehyun lies twitching on the ground, utterly humiliated by the monkey's prank. Grr! As the curse of sloth wears off, he furiously points at the fleeing monkey, demanding it come back. The scene shifts to a white-haired boy who panics as a monster charges, realizing a detrimental effect has taken hold. He braces for impact as a massive, spectral blue boar materializes behind him. Suddenly, a volley of glowing arrows flies from the trees, and the boy looks up from the ground in terror. The powerful arrows strike a different monster, a bear, saving the boy at the last second. Watching from a distance, a hooded archer is shocked, wondering how someone killed all those boars with a single shot. A mysterious figure approaches the downed boy, asking if he's hurt. The boy looks up at a scarred swordsman, wondering with dawning recognition if this is the man he's been looking for. The scene moves to the bustling city square of Tsuruyu Castle. In the crowd, one player nudges his friend, telling him to look at someone interesting. They spot a man in the full, super expensive white mamba armor set, shocked by the rare sight. The man adjusts his glasses as the onlookers wonder if he is a famous ranker they do not recognize. A cloaked woman with purple hair appears, calling him Michelle and asking for an update. He reports that the guilds don't know who their informant is. As they walk, she questions how they could possibly find someone who would give away information on the corrupt count for free. Michelle asks if she's found any traces of Haho Mask, but she reports he's only been uploading normal hunting videos of giant bears. He dismisses the idea that a newbie like Haho Mask could be the one behind the massive information leak. The woman asks where he's off to for his helper job, and Michelle answers that he's heading to the Sweepers Guild. Seeing him burdened, she offers to take the helper job so he can focus on finding their mysterious informant. Michelle clenches his gauntlet, vowing that he will make the informant pay for their actions. His eyes glow menacingly as he declares he'll make them pay for destroying the balance of the world. The scene shifts to a quiet, secluded cabin nestled in the woods. Inside, Jaehyun excitedly confirms he's a disciple of a Himbri, thanking his lucky stars for this meeting. He internally celebrates, realizing he's unexpectedly found Mawang, the main NPC for the Chapter 2 questline. Mawang explains that he was simply doing his rounds when he thankfully found Hirkan in time. A flashback reveals Mawang was once the prince's skilled swordsmanship instructor, but was kicked out after an unfortunate event. He then became the captain of the Rangers, who protect the dangerous Balkans Mountains. Hirkan reflects on his incredible luck, but Mawang bluntly tells him he should head back. Confused, Hirkan asks why, and Mawang explains that this place is filled with nothing but dangerous monsters. Mawang sternly advises Hirkan to leave before something terrible happens to him. With a smug grin, Hirkan reveals that the corrupt count is already dead. He states there's no use playing hard to get, because he already knows how to progress to Chapter 2. Pressing his advantage, he points out that, despite the Count's death, corrupt monsters are still roaming free. He explains that he traced the cause here, and asks Mawang if he knows anything about it, catching the ranger off guard. Mawang concedes that he has a suspect in mind, but admits he currently lacks any evidence. He asks Hirkan for help collecting evidence, triggering a quest and granting Hirkan the rare title, the first to come in contact with a Bulkus Ranger. Ecstatic over getting 2 rare titles, Hirkan eagerly accepts the quest, asking what to do first while Mawang asks him to calm down. A quest window appears, requesting Hirkan defeat 50 monsters in the mountains for gold and Mawang's trust. Pleased, Hirkan stands outside, ready to begin since he needed to level up anyway. He decides to start with easier monsters, saving the powerful wild boars and bear warriors for later. He scans the area, deciding which foe to target first. Uki Kick. His eyes land on the armor monkey, who is gleefully taunting him with a banana. A sinister grin spreads across Hirkan's face as he's found his first, very personal target for the quest. A moment of peace settles over the beautiful, sunlit mountain forest. Aka player in armor is sent flying after slipping on a strategically placed banana peel. Uak. The banana-wielding menace strikes again, taking down another unsuspecting player and their companion. The armor monkey cackles with pure, unrestrained joy at the mayhem it's causing. A stealthy female player observes the chaos as another adventurer seems to notice her arrival. Kiki the armor monkey's laughter turns into a sinister grin as it holds up its banana. Oki. The monkey leaps onto a terrified Hirkan, brandishing a banana peel like a deadly weapon. The armor monkey looks down in confusion as Hirkan calmly greets it. With a flash of pure rage in his eyes, Hirkan points at the monkey and promises its demise. His eyes glowing blue with power, Hirkan lunges forward, sword at the ready. He unleashes a furious flurry of slashes, targeting the swarm of armor monkeys. Wham! His attack sends a monkey flying, as it lets out a panicked shriek. The lead armor monkey expertly dodges the assault, using its kin as springboards. Tusk Hirkan clicks his tongue in frustration, enraged by the creature's agility. Annoyed, he notes that the monkey is too quick, and the trees are blocking his attacks. If that's the case, he decides on a new strategy and changes his stance. He prepares a new, more powerful attack with his sword glowing. Leaping into the air, Hirkan unleashes a massive, arcing slash of energy. The armor monkey is caught directly in the path of the devastating attack. Oh, its eyes widen in pure terror as the attack bears down on it. Monkey desperately tries to parry the incoming strike with its tiny blade. The force of the blow sends the monkey reeling, its face a mask of shock. From a tree branch, another monkey mockingly holds up a helmet and laughs at Hirkan's efforts. Hirkan calls out for his sword, initiating a special skill. Activating copy mode, one of his skeleton warriors mimics his powerful attack. The skeleton's scythe carves a path of destruction through the forest. Hirkan now stands on a cleared branch, having reshaped the battlefield to his advantage. With the monkey defeated, a system message awards him the title, the first to hunt down an armor monkey. Holding a glowing loot drop, he declares it's time to start hunting more of them. The scene shifts to a press conference, with cameras flashing brightly. Matador Chev and Jaehyun descend a grand staircase, mobbed by reporters. A reporter congratulates Chev of the Red Bulls and Shiru of the Thunder Hunters on their successful raid. Another reporter shoves a microphone toward Jaehyun, asking for a comment. She gives a humble smile, claiming they were lucky and promising to continue working hard. Once the cameras are away, her pleasant demeanor vanishes, replaced by a cold, calculating stare. Hahui excitedly praises Shiru's incredible strength, recounting how she single-handedly defeated the boss. As Ha-hui fawns over her, Shiru demurs, insisting that she just got lucky. She gives credit to the Red Bulls, stating they couldn't have won without their help. An image of a smirking, blue-flamed Hirkon flashes through her mind. With a weary sigh, Shiru orders Ha-hui to contact a player named Hatch, much to Ha-hui's disgust. Her expression turns deadly serious as she states there is something else they need to hunt down. Back in the forest, Harkin's sword shatters from overuse. A system notification confirms his gear has been destroyed, and he stands over a field of defeated monkeys. He sighs, realizing his old equipment has reached its limit, and it's time for an upgrade. The only problem, he grimly acknowledges, is that he's completely broke. A pop-up explains monster gems, rare items that have a low chance of dropping from monsters. The explanation continues, showing how gems are used to craft items and provide stat boosts. Harkin muses that the gem from Armor Monkeys is perfect for crafting the powerful gear he needs. Alright, starting now, he declares, rallying his eager skeleton army for the hunt. Koo-ha-ha. He lets out a maniacal laugh, ready to farm the monkeys into extinction. His joyful expression turns to one of pure frustration as he realizes the rare gem isn't dropping. Standing before a literal mountain of defeated monkeys, he wonders why he hasn't gotten it yet. Descending into madness, he convinces himself he's just one more kill away, while his skeletons watch nervously. As he grovels on the ground, a pair of armored boots stops before him, and he looks up. A knight in formidable red armor stands over him, identifying him as Ha-ho Mask. Hirkin's expression turns serious as he stares up at the unexpected visitor. The mysterious red knight stands silently, his presence radiating power. Hirkin recognizes the knight's orc hero's sword, realizing his opponent must be at least level 70. The menacing red knight recalls seeing Michelle and the purple-haired woman, connecting him to their cause. The imposing knight introduces himself, stating his name is Quixote. Swish Quixote leaps forward, landing gracefully before Hirkin. He strikes a dramatic pose, formally challenging Hirkin to an official duel. Utterly baffled, Hirkin stares blankly as Quixote notes his rising fame on WTube. Quixote clenches his fist, declaring that defeating Hirkin will make him popular too. Dismissing him as an attention-seeking loser, Hirkin turns to leave, telling him to get lost while Quixote begs him to wait. Already furious that the gem isn't dropping, Hirkin seethes at the interruption as Quixote begs him to fight. Desperate, Quixote makes a stunning offer. He'll pay 5,000 gold for the duel. Hirkin stops in his tracks, silently lamenting the rise of attention-seekers. His mood instantly flips as he grabs Quixote's hand with a greedy, blushing grin and says, "Welcome, customer."